It is your pal, your buddy, your friend, Mike from PA, and we are live. Dog, you are literally a liberal Zionist. One of my favorite things about people in general, one of the things that I love about people in general is how much we're fucking winning. And how much the thing about my stream and is I'm right, but I'm so early, it's before even you, right? Like, you're gonna need to accept that I'm just gonna be a half a step ahead of almost every other commentator, and it's going to be frustrating because you don't understand what's going on yet. I'm just gonna be right, okay? And it's okay, accept it. If you find yourself disagree with me on like strategy or tactics or analysis, it's okay, you're allowed. I want you to give me the counter arguments because I get smarter from you, right? Like 5,000 people challenging my thinking every day, or it's actually closer to like 20,000, but you get my point. That helps me get better. I want you to challenge it, but I also want, if you think that I'm doing something super duper evil, you're fucking wrong. You're confused. Chat was arguing with someone who self-identifies as a liberal Zionist who got banned from massage chance for defending Oh. And with that, by the way, Nithya has won. So the only candidates that Hassan Piker supported that have not won so far are, oh my God, chat, we have a treasure train. That's a 35% discount on all give subs. Get the, if you give 5 or more, I think, right? Or is it just, what the fuck? Take advantage of this shit. The only people that Hassan lost were the rich people. Like, it was Shoykot, Tech Bro, and Steyer. Every other candidate, that shows you that our politics is actually even more popular because people just hate the rich so much that they won't even listen to a guy who's rich. This is like Red Guard shit, where it's like, yes, you may be a committed communist who fought in the revolution, but your parents were rich and you were a class traitor, which sounds like you're actually bourgeoisie. Like, where people are like, they hate the rich so much that they can't even like tolerate class traders. They just don't trust them, which, like, honestly, lesson learned. You know what I mean? Like, okay, they're not going to go for like super rich tech bro billionaire type people. That's not a good face for our movement. All right. It is what it is. Not that big a deal. I'm barely hanging on as a driver with these gas prices. Oh, God, dude, I'm so sorry. It's not going to get any better. Snowflake X, thank you for the 5. Majora's Mask, thank you for the 5. Gas Station Croissant, thank you for the 5. DJ, thank you for the 5. You guys are the best. Seriously. I know that I've been like fighting with people lately over the Graham Plattner stuff, and I understand why that could be frustrating and not great vibes. Like, I get it. I really understand the vibe killer mentality I have. Like, I have this uncontrollable urge to tell you the truth, even when it's not good for me. Like, even when it offends people, because there's a lot of people on the left are kind of like good vibe guys. Can't we all just get along, man? Like, I want to like care for everybody, man. Like, that's the type of person that goes out there. Think of the wide smiling, soft cheeked people at the farmer's market, right? Like, not exactly warriors. And so whenever the vibes get a little bit down, they get scared. Okay, it's like yelling next to your dog. He doesn't know why you're yelling. Okay, and he's just like, bro, are you mad at me? Like, that's kind of the golden retriever people. Okay, like, I love the golden retriever people. That's part of why I'm a leftist, is because I love the golden retriever people. But when there's a fucking robber breaking into your house, you need a Rottweiler. Okay, when there is, you know what I'm saying? The golden retriever is trying to play fetch. You need a little bit more fight back sometimes. Modern Warfare 4 taking place in Korea. Can I fight on the side of Korea? The Third Reich isn't a monolith. Actually, Israel is more united around genocide than Germany was, and it's not even close. Like, there was definitely way more resistance to Nazism than there is to resistance to Netanyahuism. Like, there is Like they basically agree on all the settler colonial settlement policy. There's almost no Israelis that are actually fighting it in any meaningful way. The Zionist chatter who came into the chat to derail didn't even really derail me. I don't even see him. Another Hassan W. So listen, I have my criticisms of Nithya. I do. I tweeted something about Nithya. Like, the problem I have with Nithya is she's like a soup. She's what AOC people think AOC is. Like, that's the best way to describe Nithya. Nithya is what ultras say AOC is. Like, AOC is not an opportunist. AOC is not a Zionist. AOC does not support Israel. Nithya is. I don't think Nithya supports Israel, but she certainly is. She's what people. Okay, I don't want to attack Nithya by saying it out, because obviously, I'm not anti-Nithya. It's just AOC is outstanding. Nithya is not. And it's fixable. It's fixable. It's fixable. Now, maybe it's not. Maybe Nithya just can't receive instruction or pressure from people like me and Hassan. It is what it is. And she'll lose. Do I like Marine? She lost, bro. That's like asking me if I like, what was that white guy who ran? White Bernie guy who ran against, what's her name? I'm forgetting the people like Therese Davids. That's a deep cut. Brad, it's like Brett Welder. Do you like Brett Welder? Brett Welder lost. Okay, what do you want me to say? Like, did bro just glitch? No, I was doing a really deep cut. There was this Bernie Sanders candidate by the name of Brent Welder in 2018, and he got defeated by Therese Davids. And all the proto-K-hivers were like, Therese Davids is a black woman, and she's just as progressive. I can't believe you guys would have voted for a white man. All the people that are currently going after Graham Plattner would have been pro-Therese David heads. So how did she end up being? She was a super progressive, right? Oh. Actually, she's one of the most conservative Democrats in the entire House, and it was all bullshit? Oh, damn. And she's a really bad legislator who doesn't write any bills? Yeah, damn. And she's a mega Zionist? And she's extremely lazy? Wow, I can't believe it. It was all false. Damn. Brett Welder would have been significantly better. Damn. This is the Mallory McMorrow of Kansas. And, Graham Plattner, he's based. Like, I'm actually going to go out there. I'm going out on a limb, and I'm telling you that Brad Lander is, not Brad Lander. Fuck Brad Lander. I'm going out on a limb to tell you Graham Plattner is based. Like, he's actually good. All right, chat, we have 20 seconds left on the treasure trade where you can get 35% off 5+ gift subs. Now is the single best time to support the stream. Help the community grow. 5 gifted subs discounted. Gifters? All right, well, thank you, guys. Oh, wait. Was it rescued? Oh, damn. You dropped it right the second after. Damn. Choo-choo. Thank you, everybody. Awesome. Appreciate you. Okay, what are we at now? What are we at now? Nice. We're almost back to 6,000 again. We had a pretty good Friday, chat. So this is who I'm talking about, right? Like, we had a white guy running in Kansas. His name was Brett Welder. Oh, I don't know why this is all. Therese Davids ended up being a really right-wing conservative, right? Like, and she tried, like, the reason she won that primary is she pretended to be progressive. And that's the situation we're in. We have a bunch of fake progressives, and Israel is the test. Israel is how you could tell if somebody is a fake progressive or not. Because you're not allowed to be anti-Israel in the establishment. And so whenever somebody is soft on Israel, that is the single best indicator that they're a fraud. And there is there's nothing that no other policy is as good as that one. And identifying frauds. Is the person a supporter of sanctioning and boycotting Israel? If yes, good candidate. If no, not. And you could really just test it like that. Do I think Nithya is going to win in the general? If Nithya tries to tack to the center, she will get fucking owned. If Nithya has a bold, progressive campaign, she speaks openly against Israel, and she changes the tone of her messaging. I think the big problem with Nithya is, like, she's got too many Elizabeth Warren people in her ear. And I say that with the amount of I'm not trying to say contempt, okay, not contempt, but I they're just not good at this, okay? They're just not good at this. I don't know if you guys saw that Elizabeth Warren endorsed Mallory McMorrow. Elizabeth Warren just endorsed John Hickenlooper. She's bad at this, and all of the like Elizabeth Warren heads are really bad at this. And I feel like, I'm sorry, but Nithya has kind of the stink of Elizabeth Warren, kind of like faux progressivism. A good example of this group is MoveOn.org. You guys know what MoveOn.org is? MoveOn.org was started in the 90s to urge people to move on from the fact that Bill Clinton was sexually harassing people and was involved with a 21-year-old intern. That's what MoveOn is. It was a group of Democratic partisans who wanted people to move on from Bill Clinton's sex scandals. Okay. Now, over the, and then it became kind of a, pseudo progressive Democratic Party left leaning organization, right? Like pretty much Elizabeth Warren. And most of Elizabeth Warren's type people come from that kind of place, which is these are people that are, claimed to be progressive on policy, but in actuality, they disdain and hate progressives. Also, Katie Porter is an Elizabeth Warren disciple. Oh, exactly. Katie Porter is Elizabeth Warren's #1 disciple. And by the way, I was willing to give them the benefit of the doubt, right? Like I was willing to say, hey, you know what? If they're going to work with us on good policies, I don't mind that they're a little bit to my right, right? But they've just been failures. They've just been fucking failures. What can you say? Now, I'm a Steyerhead and I'm not giving up until a fat lady sings, okay? I'm not giving it up until the fat lady sings. So let's get into this shit. I just wanted to give you guys a gigantic I told you so about Graham Plattner being like, no one gives a shit about the like centrist. Like, if you've been watching my stream for a long time, you know that I love wine moms. We have a whole universe of terms I use to describe various types of white women and white men. Okay, I don't want you to think it's just targeting white women. We have the Barbaras and the Deborahs, the Karens and the Kevins, and the Dianes and the Daves. Okay, like these are the different types of white. All right, Karen and Kevin, they're the evil whites. Okay, they're the ones who, they're calling your HOA because your grass is a 1/4 inch too long. All right, they're the motherfuckers. The Karens and the Kevins. They put out a veneer of civility, but they are the Donald Trump base. Okay, and then you have the Dianes and the Daves. They're dark woke. Okay, there are dark woke commanders. All right, my Aunt Darlene is a dark woke commander. All right, she's saying shit that you're not allowed to say. Okay, like, all right, my Aunt Darlene, which we nicknamed Bubba. Now you may imagine Bubba as being a rotund woman, but she's actually the opposite. She is a sinewy, slender woman, but she worked for decades at hospitals. So she is, the charge nurse from The Pit? That's Darlene, okay? And she's also from Pittsburgh, so it's literally identical, okay? She's literally identical, all right? So there's the Darlenes, the Dianes. They're dark woke commanders. They're Kyle Kalinske heights, okay? They're Democrat partisans who want us to slaughter Republicans and not suffer them to live, okay? Metaphorically in a video game. And then you have the Deborahs and the Barbaras. Those are your swing wine moms. For the longest time, the Karens of the Democratic Party convinced all the Barbaras and the Deborahs to vote for Hillary Clinton because she's electable, right? But now, the Barbaras and the Deborahs have declared their loyalty to dark woke. And ladies and gentlemen, we are entering a new era. And that's exactly why I think AOC is going to rocket to the top, because the Barbaras and the Deborahs are tired of establishment, bipartisan, dithering bullshit where Donald Trump gets away with everything. They want accountability. And I think that the best way for the left, if I was running a campaign for 2028, I would promise, if I was running in a primary, I would promise accountability for the Trump administration, and accountability for Israel. Centrist Democrats will not be able to do either one of those things. and all the Democratic base will be at 100% behind you. And then you could also then smuggle in all our Democratic socialist shit, you know, free childcare, free healthcare, you know, no more wars, blah, 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 blah. But in the Democratic primary, that's the package that I think will apply, that will be so much red meat. Like the base of the Democratic Party is starving for red meat. Why wait for accountability? Because you need to have power to have accountability, right? That's like asking the Soviet army in 1942, why aren't you liberating Moscow? Just liberate Moscow. You have to beat the Nazis in the battlefield first. I don't know if you noticed, but they control everything. There is no left or right. A bunch of old idiots dictating what we get, do, what, try, need, etc. Let women run the country. Other countries do it. Hello. Listen. I hear what you're saying. As long as you're okay with letting AOC and Claire Valdez and Dara Lizo run the country, I agree with you 100%. But I 100% oppose having Stevens or Mallory McMorrow run the country over Abdul. All right? Some women are kind of dumb, right? I think we could all agree with that. Women tend to be smarter than men on average, but some women are kind of dumb. And I'm not going to pretend like every woman is good. Have you met, I don't know, let's see, Candace Owens? Have you met, I don't know, what's another good example? I don't know, conservative Republicans. I can't think of any right now. Margaret Thatcher, Neera Tanden, Lauren Boebert, Marjorie Taylor Greene. I hate gender wars. I gotta be honest. I hate gender wars content because it's slop for idiots. It's absolute. It's the next generation. Like the racial bribe isn't working as well. So now they're doing gender wars bullshit. It's a fucking psyop. Like it unironically is a psyop. All right, let's keep going. The Barbaras and the Debras, they will lead us to victory. Or as I've said, wine moms. Again, this is another Mike from PA is always right take. We're gonna have to upgrade Mike was right to Mike is always right. I'm kidding. Unless, oh no. I'm not infallible. This is what the Barbaras and the Debras are saying.
Tote and Coke tattoo, the Nazi tattoo.
Tote and Coke.
How do you kind of...
Somebody said that they talked to somebody who had seen one of those or wore one of those, and it was silver, and it didn't even occur to him that it was the same thing. I think people are making as much of it as they can because they don't have a lot of substance around anything else. And if they did, we'd hear about it, believe me. They are trolling for dirt.
What if he has like a Israeli flag tattoo or something? Would that be a deal breaker?
For me?
Yeah.
Honestly, yeah.
That would be
Israeli? Yeah, because I don't support genocide, and he doesn't either. And that would show that he was being inconsistent. And he's been very consistent about that. Straight across the board.
Tote and Coke tattoo.
I couldn't agree more. You know, he didn't know what the Totenkopf tattoo was. He got it covered up. He was a dumb Marine, right? But if he had an Israeli flag tattoo like Gila Klein, get him out, 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 because that would be genocidal. She's right. And as I said, the Barbaras and the Debras hate Israel. Let's fucking go. And here's the thing. If you actually, you know, I've been talking about the Barbaras and the Debras. Whenever they're on your side, unironically, when the wine moms like this are on your side, your movement is winning. That's what people don't understand about Graham Plattner. It's not online leftists like me. In fact, we haven't been doing enough for him, to be quite honest with you. Graham Plattner has eaten a ration of shit, and he hasn't moved to the right one budge. We haven't been giving him enough support, to be honest with you. In fact, a lot of people are being cowardly about it because they don't want to talk about the policies he supports. They're talking about some other random irrelevant bullshit, and they're acting like liberals do. It's all optics, it's all bullshit, and not material consequences. What does he support policy-wise? And they're good. The policies are good, far better than the average Democrat. And yeah, the guy doesn't have a perfect life. I don't want people like that. I've said this before. One of the reasons I hate Pete Buttigieg is because he's a sociopath. If you were 12 years old and like, I'm not going to smoke weed because I want to run for president, you're a fucking freak and I don't want you anywhere near power. If that's some of you in the chat, go and live life. Go and buy a fucking bag of magic mushrooms tonight and do a trip. If you are so fucking twisted and bound up and repressed that you refuse to live life out of fucking ambition, there's something wrong with you. I like the fact that he's kind of a little bit of a dummy, but in an endearing way. He's not dumb on policy. He's sloppy. He's trashy. That's a good thing. Sloppy and trashy people should be Democrats. White trash should be Democrats. That's a sign we're winning. We lose when the white trash are Republicans. That's how they get their base. There's a lot more white trash people than there are fucking upper middle class country club Republican Democrat who are like, I'm sorry, you forgot to turn in your homework when you were 17. I think that you should be a failure for the rest of your life. Like that type of person, the Pete Buttigieg incarnate, is weird. They're fucking weird. They're fucking weird. You didn't go to a good undergrad degree because when you were 14, you got a C in Algebra 2, and that means that the rest of your life should be manual labor because you didn't study. Like, what the fuck are you saying? Get the fuck out of here. You didn't get to a really good college from your grandpa being a legacy. The courage thing about Pete was when he edited his own Wikipedia to write about himself in the third person, and also he claims to speak Norwegian, and that's absolute bullshit. I'm Norwegian. He does not speak Norwegian. I know, he's a fucking fraud. He did like 5 lessons of Duolingo, and then, you know, he repeated it to a bunch of clapping seals, Deborahs. By the way, the reason why we fucking lost in 2020 is the Deborahs were not behind us. This is a very, like, this is unironically Mike from PA political thought, and this is like, literally, what I'm telling you is worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. If you were to hire me as your fucking consultant, I would want, you know, at least 10K a month for these insights because they're good and you'll win. The wine moms are how you could tell if our movement is doing well. If it's just a bunch of like cosmopolitan, you know, sexy leftists at your campaign rally, you're fucking cooked. If the average person in your, if like the average person in your campaign has a women's studies degree minor, you're fucking cooked. And I'm not saying that. I like women's studies. Fuck, I think it's great. But you need the wine moms. The Democratic Party is turning against the wine moms. Repeat, the Democratic Party is turning against the wine moms. Imagine if we had any leaders of the left. In their defense, wine moms show up to knock doors for DSA-endorsed candidates at a higher rate than 25-year-old irony-poisoned Twitter shit posters. Again, me talking about Editor Mentum is a fucking idiot. He's never worked on any campaigns and knows nothing. Anyone who has ever done real organizing knows the awesome power of wine moms when used for good. Yeah, legitimately the first bit of hopeful news we've had since the catastrophic defeat. If pods save wine moms like Hassan, we have a shot. Anyone who does real work on the ground knows that pleasant wine moms in their early 60s are the backbone of many grassroots movements. They are adorable. The Barbaras and the Deborahs have declared war on Susan Collins in Maine, and they love Graham Plattner because they see him as their son, their millennial son who struggled and is finally getting his stride. Like, they're literally like, do you know how many Graham Plattners? Graham Plattner is the average white guy in Maine. You're obsessed? No, this is called understanding voter psychology, which you don't, which is why your movement is fucking marginal at best. You're wondering why everyone's not a communist. It's because you're not in touch with the masses. You're in touch with a clique, a social clique, which is incentivized by CIA-run social media. Why are you acting exactly like the left, like the CIA wants you to act? Why are you acting exactly like the left the CIA wants to design? Why are you acting exactly in like the most suppressible and irrelevant faction of all time? Get your shit together. Where was my, oh, here we go.
Is in South Portland, Maine. With the latest, Caitlin, good morning. A lot of people following this one.
Good morning, Gail. Indeed, a lot of people following this one. But despite all of these high-profile controversies, many Democrats here say that Graham is popular. Graham Plattner is popular, and they are looking for a different kind of senator to send to Washington.
We are going to beat Susan Collins.
In a critical contest for control of the Senate, the greatest obstacle to Graham Plattner's political future may be his own past.
As every single piece of that past and journey gets dug up, litigated, and weaponized, you have my back.
Plattner pushed back again over the weekend against allegations from a former girlfriend, Lindsay Fifield, who told the New York Times that Plattner regularly grabbed her by the shoulders, sometimes hard enough to leave marks, and on one occasion yanked her out of a cab by her wrist. Plattner denies any physical violence, and his campaign called Fifield a, quote, lifelong GOP operative. Whether Maine will back the political newcomer over
Now, first of all, I want to say two things. The first is don't minimize any kind of like physical abuse, right? I think this is a trap that you should never fall into, which is you hear an account of physical abuse. I don't want you to ever, and I mean ever, go, that's not that bad, blah, 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 blah. You are immediately falling into their trap. Don't take what she says as true at all, because she has absolutely no corroboration whatsoever, and would ask if she thinks it's domestic violence. She said no. Why would she say that? Because she tried to avoid defamation lawsuit, and she knows it's not true. Okay. So the only thing to ask you, the only thing you should be questioning is her credibility. Never fall into the trap of trying to litigate whether X, Y, and Z thing is or is not abuse. That's the psyop. That's you falling for the psyop. Okay. The reality is she has absolutely no credibility. She's a liar. And she, in fact, and the reason why I could say that is she literally started an organization to question Blasey Ford's accusations of sexual assault against Brett Kavanaugh. So the idea that she's some sort of believe women person is bullshit. She is the biggest possible hack in all of America, right? If this was like some random woman who wasn't political and she was coming out and saying the exact same thing, I would have a lot different of a reaction to it, right? But this woman is without a doubt 100% the biggest Zionist shill operative of all time. This Israel would kill 60,000 children, and you don't think they would lie about an anti-Zionist candidate using one of their own operatives who they'll protect and fund and make rich? Then you're fucking stupid. Like that's the thing that I want you to understand, is that is the other thing. Yeah, and furthermore, and this is going to sound harsh, stop letting them jerk you around. Like there's people out there that say they would support Hamas, right? But they're not going to support voting for a guy who has kind of a shitty resume. You don't think Hamas soldiers have done horrible crimes, including war crimes? If you're somebody who's out there posturing about how you would support Hamas's resistance, but then you wouldn't do the small thing of voting for Graham Plattner, even though, and this is objectively true, voting for Graham Plattner would do more to harm Israel than posting about Hamas, because you're not really supporting Hamas. Actually, materially supporting Hamas is a crime in the Western world. Like if you tried to give $1 to Hamas, you go to prison. So all you could do is post meaningless shit for attention. You're not actually supporting the Palestinian resistance in any way. Like that's, and it's a harsh fucking truth. Wow, you're a piece of shit. How so? This is just objectively true 8 minutes ago. Your name is terminally online. Am I showing you that being terminally online is fucking useless? I'm not saying Hamas is not resisting Israel. I'm saying you're posting about how you would post in support of Hamas isn't resisting Israel. What Graham Plattner wants to do is strip Israel of funding. Do you not see how Israel is freaking out over Donald Trump telling them not to attack? Do you understand why everyone's having a meltdown? Because Israel depends on the United States so much that even Donald Trump is stopping them. What do you think would happen if an American went into power who is anti-Israel? It would collapse the state, just like happened in South Africa, because the institutions of South Africa were resisted by the indigenous population. Just like the institutions of Israel are resisted by the indigenous population. The only reason they were able to stay propped up was because the world system supported by the United States was propping up the settler entity. The moment the United States stops propping up the settler entity, the powerful indigenous resistance will prevail. This is basic shit. And right now, our problem is that regular Americans, they don't understand the policy. They don't understand settler colonialism and the politics of resistance and, you know, all this proportionality and all this other shit, all this frou-frou, second semester at grad school foreign policy bullshit that you want to talk about. They see Israel as killing kids and they want to stop funding Israel. If we were able to get their will into power, the indigenous resistance would win. We don't need to rescue them. We don't need to invade Israel. We don't need to do all this shit. We just have to stop supporting Israel. And that's what Graham Plattner is there to do. Be tactical. Be strategic. Learn a fucking lesson. That's why the Zionists are spending so much effort attacking him. Do you not value that? Do you not see that? Why do you think the Zionists are spending so much time slandering and trying to fight Graham Plattner? For fun? Why the fuck you don't invade Israel? Because it's not going to happen. The United States did not invade South Africa and it fell apart. We don't need to. Israel will fall apart the moment the United States says we're not supporting it anymore. Stop being a white savior with fantasies of rushing to their defense. All you have to do is stop your own governments from funding Israel. That's what's the problem that we have on the left today is too many of you are video game brained. You think you're the main fucking character. All we have to do is stop doing harm. Look what happened to China when we stopped doing harm. Look what happened to Vietnam when we stopped doing harm. Those countries fucking exploded in success. Same thing will happen to Cuba. Same thing would have happened to Venezuela. If we just stopped doing harm, those countries would have succeeded. We don't need to. That's white man's burden bullshit. You are unironically recapitulating imperialist savior logic in your own politics. The Palestinian people, the Lebanese people will defeat Israel as long as the 350 million population superpower is not pouring trillions of dollars behind Israel. Stop, like, get your shit together, man. Christ. And like this, what I'm saying right now is the strategy that will work. The moment you go from we need to stop giving Israel support, you go from to we should invade Israel, you go from 80% of people being with you to 20% of people being with you. You go from defeating Zionists and their most important supply line, their most important logistics supply line comes from America. Wars are won with logistics. That's why the Zionists spend so much money on America, because we are their logistic lifeline. If you cut the umbilical cord, the Israeli fetus will die. Like, that is like basic analysis. Eric, you're too stupid for my stream. I know too much about Israel for your blathering to be here. You're not permitted to access my community. Thank you. The Jewish Power Party is part of the government. Like, Israel is a fascist state. Like, what do you want? Shut the fuck up. I don't care what your cope is. The U.S. literally didn't give a shit about SA. It was one of the last countries to admit the apartheid. What are you trying to say? You're trying to say that the United States did not. South Africa was ruled by whites. That's why they didn't invade. What the fuck are you saying? Huh? The reason why the South African government fell is the strong indigenous resistance. That's what Nelson Mandela led. And then the Western world finally sanctioned them, cut them off from money, both private and state action. They were directly blockaded, and South African government and economic, and we weren't even allowed. You weren't allowed to buy any South African currency. Like, it was a crime to buy South African currency, let alone trade with any of their companies. They were fucking cooked, and they capitulated almost immediately. Also, a lot of American banks refused to do any transactions with South Africa at all. Even Wall Street started sanctioning and blockading fucking South Africa. That's why it fell. It was a combination of strong indigenous resistance plus being cut off from supply lines abroad. And then immediately apartheid fell. The same strategy is what we need to do in Israel. Like, that's what I'm advocating for. You weren't allowed to fly from New York to South Africa. In fact, the sanctions were so strict that after Nelson Mandela came to power, he was like, okay, guys, please, can you lift the sanctions now? That was actually the plot of Lethal Weapon 2. South African mobsters were smuggling kilograms in with women they trafficked from Eastern Europe. Yeah, exactly. Did South Africa have nukes, though? Yes. Yes! Yes! Yes, South Africa had nukes! They got it from Israel! And they dismantled them. Israel was their closest ally. Nuclear Israel, apartheid South Africa, and the agreement with the devil. Okay, dude. Israel spread its nuclear technology illicitly, making a secret deal with apartheid South Africa. If that was not shameful enough, in doing so, it embraced a regime led by men who had openly supported Nazi Germany, running their country by enshrining racism into the law. Shaka Puklau Sarinsky's book, The Unspoken Alliance, Israel's Secret Relation with Apartheid South Africa, opens with a vignette from April 9th, 1976. Before the anticipated changeover to a majority-elected African National Congress-led government in 1990, the South African government dismantled all its nuclear weapons. So while they were an apartheid state, they had nukes, and then when the black leadership was going to take over, they dismantled them before they handed over power. And then they signed the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty. So the answer is yes, South Africa had nukes while it was a racist apartheid state allied with Israel. I'm happy to teach you history because the history is hopeful. Like part of the problem we have is a lot of these 20-something like ultras who post online don't know anything. They learn something and then they make a video about it and then they just start blathering like they don't know anything. And so when we're like, hey, we're gonna do this strategy, they're like, that won't work. And then it's like, that's exactly what worked. Like, it's a settle a colonial nuclear armed state. Like, what are you talking about? I'm like, no, that can't work. Yes, it can. A lot of them are people from outside the United States with an inferiority complex. Like, the worst part about this is, like, Adam Panada is in Argentina. Argentina, for example, is a American puppet state. It's like, American exceptionalism isn't true because I want it to be true. It's because in your country that you're living in, it's taken over by American CIA shit. And there's like not an acknowledgement that controlling the American state with somebody who is less expansionistic abroad, even marginally, would significantly help the left worldwide.
For 5-term Republican Senator Susan Collins remains to be seen.
The allegations in the latest story are troubling.
Plattner previously apologized for a series of sexist online posts.
I have gone and gotten it covered up.
He denied he knew a tattoo he got as a Marine is widely recognized as a Nazi symbol. But Plattner's supporters we met Sunday night say they're sticking with him.
He's not perfect. I don't think there's any perfect candidate.
And while many of the voters that we talked to at that town hall last night still had some questions for Plattner, not one of them asked him directly about these high-profile controversies. Instead, they seemed more concerned about pocketbook issues like inflation. Nate?
Caitlin, thank you.
So, state media is admitting that their stupid attacks on Plattner didn't work. And basically, you could tell who's stupid and who's corrupt based on their reaction to this. If you think of Graham, like, there is without a doubt a class divide going on. And the people that are anti-Graham Plattner are upper class, almost without exception. Or they are downwardly mobile upper class people with a lot of degrees. I don't see a lot of like regular ass Mainers joining in on this shit. Here's a perfect example. The centrist Twitterati on here really don't grasp that Graham for Main's support isn't coming from terminally online lobstermen like yours truly, but from extremely offline left of dem 75-year-olds who were fed the fuck up with decades of DC fuckery. Janet Mills was rejected not by Birdie Bros, but by her own generational peers who saw what she had done and said, God damn, this is weak. We need a fighter. This Graham dude reminds me of my slightly fucked up son with a heart of gold. Maine was the state most devastated by the opioid epidemic. There's a plethora of Gen Xers and millennials with sordid histories trying to do better now, and boomers who have been and will continue to support them through that growth. Maine is a state full of trauma. And this is before we even get into the class dynamics of locals and from aways. That's changing even now as the seasonal residents shift from old money generational vacationers to wealthy new money retirees who love the state's aesthetics but resent the community. Janet Mills is dog shit on policy. And I want to show you something, chat. And I really hope we make a short of this, which is Destiny is very stupid. All right. I want you to understand. Destiny knows nothing about politics, not even basic information. Okay. Anybody who's telling you that this guy is supposedly a political streamer and he doesn't know who one of the most important Republican senators is in the entire country. And then he goes and does debates on this shit.
Especially when none of you motherfuckers would support. Is Susan Collins actually that bad? I don't even know. But everybody in my subreddit hates her.
She's a Republican, but like she does sometimes.
Never mind. Don't care. Don't care. I didn't even know.
He didn't know that Susan Collins was a Republican. The problem with Destiny is he's just stupid. He doesn't know anything. I had multiple debates with him, including one where he called AOC economically illiterate. And then he told me that rich people didn't borrow against their stocks and their assets. I want to say that again. He was out there debating me over whether AOC was economically illiterate, and he didn't know even basic things called the basic strategies like buy, borrow, die about how rich people avoid paying taxes in this country. He's not bright. He is a dummy.
Oh, I'm retarded. Never mind. I didn't know. She's a Republican fucker. That she's an amoral demon. Wait, who's the other person in this race?
It's just Plattner and I think Kerr.
Wait, who was the other Democrat?
God, they're so stupid. They're so stupid. How do you watch this shit? I'm trying not to curse, but I need to know, why would you watch this man? Why are there people in the chat? Why are you in a cult to a sex pest who doesn't even know the most important primary race in the entire country? The main primary race to go against Susan Collins, the Republican. This is basic politics knowledge for a politics follower. There are states we need to flip. We need to flip the Ohio Senate race, the Texas Senate race, the Michigan Senate race, the Maine Senate race. Although Michigan, I don't think is a flip. It's a maintain, right? It's an open seat. We need to flip the Iowa Senate seat. These are the basic facts. It's not that many races to keep track of.
I'm pretty sure.
I'm sorry. I was thinking of Mills. I don't think Mills, especially when
Mills is losing worse compared to Collins. Graham Plattner does better against Collins than Janet Mills. And it's because people are fired up by his anti-Israel, progressive populist message. That's why the establishment is going against him, because he's in a swing seat. He's in a purple state. It's a blue tinged purple state, meaning it tends to just go Democrat, but Republicans can compete. And Janet Mills was losing to Susan Collins, and she was making nobody excited because she's 80 fucking years old and she's pro-Israel. I'm sorry, but it's very difficult not to regress to being ableist when I hear Epstein speak. Yeah, he's very stupid. He's very, very stupid. And it's very important that everybody knows it. Stop paying attention to this guy. He doesn't know his ass from a hole in the ground.
Plattner's a fighter who calls them fascists. People who characterize him as left or DSA are fundamentally misunderstanding his appeal. Absolutely.
He is left. The thing is, he actually is left. He actually is left. Like, that's the thing. Graham Plattner is left. That's why they hate him so much, right? And it's very important you understand that, right? You may not consider him left because for you, left is an identity, not a set of policies. For me, left is a set of policies and political alliances and interests. He firmly stands on the side of our policies and our interests. He may have personal problems that are far from the ideal leftist individual, but that's liberalism. That is not what he represents materially, politically. He represents the anti-Zionist, pro-social democratic, anti-war, anti-imperialist state. He's just not the diversity clinic, white fragility, master's degree in some sort of SJW policy. Okay, you know, he's just not from Oberlin. He's kind of a trashy, downwardly mobile guy. And for me, it's very simple. It's very, very, very simple. When Michael Brooks died, he was posting about him. I'm sorry, but that, ladies and gentlemen, that tells me everything I need to know. All right, where was I? We had Hassan here. I had the Hassan clip. Let me play the Hassan clip. Where's the Hassan clip? No, did I lose the Hassan clip? No! Somebody link me the Hassan clip again. Okay, there it is. Oh, it's right here. Fuck, sorry.
Let's look at Graham Plattner's commie tanky base now. Does this look like a DSA meeting? Maybe DSA pre-2016, certainly, but there wouldn't be this many people in one room for the DSA before 2016 anyway. But does this look like a Democratic Socialists of America meeting? Do you think this is the fucking campus caucus? These are people who were around when motherfucking Karl Marx was around. The fuck are you talking about? The DSA tankies. You only arrive at this conclusion if your brain is fucking rotted from the shit that you see on the internet. Stop believing these fucking dickheads, okay? They are always going to lead you astray.
I really need to see that tanky post. Somebody show, what was that tanky post? I want to make fun of Destiny more.
Pissed at Trump and
what is the Destiny post? Steady drum beat. What? Okay, hold on. I'm pulling this up. Steady _ drum beat. This is so funny. Come on. Wait, what? Is there? Am I blocked? I must be blocked. I gotta find this post. I need to find this post. Oh, I'm an idiot. Dickheads do lead us astray. Good job. What are you trying to say? I can't find it. Here. Thank you so much, Greg. This guy, like, I'm about to unfollow him because apparently he thinks Destiny's intelligent, which is a huge red flag for me.
Here's the deal, okay? If I was in Maine and it's Plattner and a Republican on the ballot, as long as there is breath in my body, hand can grip a pen and can mark a ballot, I'm voting for the blue guy. Plattner would get the vote. But do not expect me to come out here and simp for him or actively defend him when he is.
Okay. Destiny's entire argument was that Hasan is evil and we're all tanky pieces of shit because we weren't simping for Kamala Harris. Now, Kamala Harris and Joe Biden were actively committing a genocide. And we were saying, hey, we will support you, Kamala, if you stop supporting the crimes against humanity. Just come out and say you'll break from Israel, please. And she said, fuck you, I'm going to have the most lethal military, right? We were begging on our knees. Please give us something. We wanted to believe it. DSA even tweeted out, aha, we got walls. That's a sign that we're going to get some kind of Israel break. Like everybody was coconut pilled. And then she came out and said, oh, are you coconut pilled? Israel, Israel, I love Israel, Israel, Israel. That's what she did. And everybody was like, okay, fuck her. Like that's exactly what happened. And Destiny's like, oh guys, you guys are to blame, not her. Everybody who was unenthused by that is to blame, but not her. But now he's saying he's not going to defend the Democratic nominee who's anti-genocide, who's fighting for accountability for the Trump administration. Because why?
In bed with all of the worst people on the planet with these tanky commie loser f***s. For all I know, this guy could be Fetterman 2.0. Unfortunately, even Fetterman is preferable to a Republican. But I don't.
Fetterman is literally your politics. Constantly talking about the left being bad, being pro-Israel, and supporting American imperialism abroad. That's literally your politics. That's literally you. The only reason you don't like Fetterman is everyone else doesn't like Fetterman, and it's bad for your algorithm because he has no base. So Fetterman is literally your politics, you dumb rat. Pro-capitalist, pro-American imperialism, pro-Israel, and anti-left wing. That's John Fetterman.
Expect anybody to be happy about it. It's so funny because you talk to these stupid lefty commie okay, and you're like, did you guys ever support Kamala? And they're like, yeah, go back and look. And every single video is like, well, Trump is bad, 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 Trump is bad. Would the Democrat be better?
Hasan said no
multiple times. Yeah, the messaging was mixed at best. But now all of the commies seem to understand, hold on, it's not enough to just say that I guess you'd support Plato. You need to be excited about it. You got to be.
Okay, well, here's the thing. All right, I'll explain it to you people very easily. The centrist establishment has been in control of the Democratic Party for decades, and they kept winning primaries on the argument of electability. Hey, you may agree with Bernie Sanders about Medicare for all, Democratic base voter, but Joe Biden is more electable, right? So even though you know, please vote for the centrist establishment Democrat. The centrist establishment Democrat, with the help of the compliant corporate media and institutions that were all biased in favor of them, would win close primaries, right? Against established, anti-establishment progressives. For decades now, that's the way things have been going. And every single time that happened, they would turn to the left and say, we're going right. We're moving our positions closer to the Republicans, but you got to vote blue no matter who. Even though these policies, you hate all these policies, and I'm going toward the Republicans, you got to vote blue no matter who, because I won the primary. What are you going to do? Help a Republican? Right? That was the theory. And a lot of people went with it. I even went with it. I would even say, you know what? You got to vote against the Republican because the Supreme Court is too important. In 2016, I was saying that. Go look at my tweets. You'll see me arguing with Jimmy Dore. You'll see me arguing with a bunch of other people saying, I supported Bernie, but we got to vote Clinton because the Supreme Court vacancy is too important. We got to have we can't let the Republicans get the Supreme Court. Vote for Hillary Clinton. I did that for decades. Well, that was the way it went. But now, finally, progressives are breaking through. They're winning those contested primaries. The voters are fed up with Republican light. They've seen Trump win twice against Republican light. They've seen America support Israel's genocide. Democratic centrists supporting Israel's genocide. Capitulating to the Republicans on issue after issue. And they've seen everything around them get worse and no change be delivered. So now it is not me who's changed. It's the Democratic base voter. They no longer believe you when you say centrism is more electable. They no longer believe you when you say bipartisanship is the way to heal the country. They want to fight back against Trumpian fascism. And now the progressives are winning the primaries. And now suddenly all the people for 2 decades for whom vote blue no matter who worked, for whom vote blue no matter who was the strategy that was the only right strategy, the only moral strategy. Now suddenly they're helping Republicans. They're trashing the Democrat. They're supporting independent third-party runs. Andrew Cuomo lost the primary and then a sore loser campaign against Zohran Mamdani, which he then got Trump support. I saw Mandela Barnes in Wisconsin win the primary, and then the establishment Democrats cut off his money and put it into Florida for a centrist cop who lost by 15 points, and Mandela Barnes ended up losing by a point. He got no help from the Democratic Party in D.C. They said he was too far left. So they spent $70 million in Florida to lose by 15, and they cut off a candidate who was close in the election, who lost by less than 1%. We've seen it time and time again. And Pennsylvania's first congressional district, Bucks County, FDR's vice president's grandson, an anti-war activist named Wallace, running against a Republican, Brian Fitzpatrick. They cut him off. They said he was pro-war because he was anti-war on terror. They went after him. They denied him support from D.C. He lost by less than 1%. Kara Eastman in Destiny's hometown of Omaha, Nebraska, won a contested primary. And then the Democrat, former Democrat congressman, endorsed the Republican. John Bacon, I think is his name. And she lost by less than 1%. Bob Wallace, less than 1%. Mandela Barnes, less than 1%. We've seen this vote blue no matter who lie repeated over and over and over again. And so we're pointing out your hypocrisy, Destiny. We're pointing out that all the centrists who said they would vote blue no matter who to stop Republicans would rather side with Republicans than vote for mild social democracy, for a program that every other Western country, developed country, has for their people. They would rather vote for Republicans so America continues to be an empire abroad than vote for slightly higher taxes on billionaires. And we see, so we're calling on you. You're the one who benefited from vote blue no matter who for decades. Now the shoe's on the other foot. And suddenly you're figuring out that you don't care if the Republicans have power, actually. You care more about stopping the left. That's why we're calling you out, because when you benefited, vote blue no matter who. Now that you don't benefit, suddenly it's negotiable. Fuck you. You're a hypocrite. And that's what I called out. I called that out before 2024. I said, vote blue no matter who, never goes the other way. And you just proved Mike was right again. I've said you have proven my analysis better than yours. And that's why you're marginal. No one cares. And you're only useful as a lol cow to milk. Here I am, July 18th, 2024. They've spent 12 years chanting vote blue no matter who. It's almost like they used it as a bludgeon and never meant it. Like, I've been saying this for a very long time. Vote blue no matter who was always a scam. Very funny to see all the same vote blue no matter who grifter accounts on here calling Trump a fascist while the actual politicians they support and the centrist Democratic Party are pledging to work with Trump. Why don't any of you have any shame? When I used to say vote blue no matter who only went one way, that progressives are never supported by centrists when they win primaries. I didn't expect them to make it so explicit. Here was Zohran Mamdani. This is the most electrifying Democratic politician in the country. Here is a Democratic congressman speaking about him.
Chair Ken Martin, fellow Minnesotan, used you as an example in saying the party is a big tent. It can welcome people from different ideological, geographic perspectives. I think he used the example of you couldn't win a race in Ilhan Omar's district and she couldn't win a race in yours.
I've been considering starting a clips channel to post leftist streamers. Can I add clips to it? Oh yeah, by the way, if you post videos of mine, you need to interact with me. I will shut down your channel if you don't. If you're making fan channels of me, you have to interact with me and coordinate with me. And if I tell you to take down a video, you have to take it down. That's the deal. Like, I'm not gonna let people use my content against what I wanted, the way I want it to be used. Now, I'm happy to have fan channels, but as long as you understand you're subordinate to me and it's a limited revocable license and you have to do what I tell you, then we're good, right? Like, then we're good. You know, like, you're not allowed, like, if, for example, sometimes on stream, I'm talking to you guys and I don't want to make it a YouTube video because I don't want to like fight other YouTubers. Even like, because sometimes when I evaluate people's arguments, I get a little harsh, but I wouldn't want to publish that as a video, right? Like, it is a stream. It's intended to be ephemeral. It's not intended to be my permanent position on someone, right? So like, if I post a video, that's my permanent position, right? If I'm making a stream, it's fluid. right? Like there's a difference.
Is there room for you and Mamdani in the Democratic Party?
You know, I think it's a fine question. I think it's one that many Republicans have been asking about, whether there's room for traditional conservatives in a party now led by MAGA Republicans like Donald Trump. The answer ultimately, I think, is no. You know, we do share many of the same values. In fact, most Americans share a lot of the same values. But as a political party, yes, you want diversity. You want some differences of opinion, perspective, life story, politics, and experience. But when you have socialists, in the Democratic Party, I don't know how anybody could argue that that would be beneficial for the party or for the country. Therein lies the great challenge. Same thing on the right, Omar. Is MAGA the future of the Republican Party? If it is, there is going to be a new, grand, successful third party in America, because the overwhelming majority of Americans want neither far left or far right politics. They want decency, they want common sense, competency, and cooperation. And no party right now is elevating candidates who represent those ideals.
So this is why people like Destiny are scum. Because it was vote blue no matter who, until one of the most dynamic politicians in American history wins. And regular people, and he's been an incredibly effective mayor. He's been incredibly effective in communications and organizing and in leading the state.
Seneca Gates, there's this giant ass.
For many New Yorkers, they ask themselves, how can city government respond to the issues that I'm seeing right outside of my house, right on my block? This is pothole politics, right? We know that New Yorkers are measuring the impact of city government in these ways, and they're saying that if you want me to believe in the promise of universal childcare, you have to show that you can deal with the smallest kind of issues that have often been overlooked. And today, we're celebrating 100,000 potholes having been filled over the course of this 100-day period. It's the most potholes DOT has filled in over a decade, and it's truly thanks to the incredible workers we have here. I've told these guys that there's no danger of losing their job to me. They are the experts here, but what we're trying to also shine a light on is the fact that public servants are doing incredible work across the city, and they've been doing it for years, but oftentimes they've been overlooked in that work.
And that's what they were afraid of. That's what scum like Destiny and the centrist Democrats and these other ignorant assholes were afraid of. They were afraid of the power of a good example. They were afraid of electing somebody, a sewer socialist, which was something that I've been talking about for over 5 years. If you go to my channel, I've been talking about sewer socialism for 5 years. Zohran Mamdani is exactly the politics that I've been advocating for. He is I posted this 5 years ago. Socialism 101, sewer socialism and regionalism. And it's not me like trying to claim credit. Zohran says he is doing sewer socialism. 100%. Mamdani leading into sewer socialism gets his hands dirty. The mayor has embraced the decades-old concept of sewer socialism, hoping to improve New Yorkers' lives by focusing on public services. And ladies and gentlemen, that is exactly what I advocated for. My politics, my voter analysis, my public policy suggestions are directly right. And that's what they've been fighting against. They don't want Graham Plattner to win because they don't want the example of a populist, working class, anti-Israel lefty winning in a swing district against a Republican flipping that seat. They don't want that They don't want that to exist because, God forbid, we find better candidates than Graham Plattner all over the country. They no longer can use the electability argument, which is why they're going gangbusters to try to destroy this man. And they did the same thing with Zohran Mamdani. What did Zohran Mamdani ever do? He was faultless. And yet they looked at his wife's post when she was 15 years old to try to call him an anti-Semite. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is why slop streamers, drama streamers like Destiny, and all the centrist Democrats are so focused on shitting on Graham Plattner.
Straight.
And there you go. There you go. That should be a nice video, right? Like, we should be able to go after, we should do like a little anti-Destiny video. The Ted Lieu yesterday said he hopes a Republican wins at the California governor primary. I endorse Xavier Becerra. That's why I hope Xavier, however you say his fucking name. That's why I hope Republican Steve Hilton remains in the top two. The reason why I went silent is because this is really bad, because if there's a Republican in the California governor's race, it's going to drive up Republican turnout, and they're going to vote Republican down ballot in a bunch of congressional races that we need to win in order to flip the House. The reason why we don't have the House of Representatives right now is because Democrats lost like 3 close races in California. So by having a Republican in the general, it's going to raise Republican turnout and therefore increase the chances that the Republicans hold on to the House after they're gerrymandering all throughout the South. Steyer winning not only will make the conversation in California more about left-wing policy, but it'll also drive down Republican turnout. That's why Nithya winning in LA was so good, because now there's no reason for Republicans to turn out in LA. There's no reason to have an organized Republican turnout op in LA. God, he's so stupid. All right, do we have any more Steyer drops? It's a little early, so maybe we don't have any Steyer drops. Now, Steyer's still on the golden path. Steyer is still on the golden path. Okay, he could still win. All right, he can still win. I think there's a lot of Bay Area still out, right? Like where are the ballots still out? Haven't looked for a couple days. I saw that he did decently in LA. Like I think he ended up doing like a little bit better than he needed in LA, but he did like worse in some of the rural areas. So like certainly not great, but not, you know, not like catastrophically bad. Where is the results? Okay, so LA there is mostly in. He's still got a lot of San Fran out. And a lot of Alameda County, and let's see, where are our Steyer Bros votes still out? It's really going to come down to these late Bay Area counties. They still have a lot of votes out. Sonoma, like that's really, and you know, Sacramento has, you know, hopefully he could do better in the late Sacramento drops. So if he really overperforms, like Marion County still has a lot out. If he really overperforms, he still has a shot. So it's really rating on the Bay. Most optimistic calculation, meaning that Tom's margins stay the same or better, require about 9.8 million votes, which is unprecedented. I think we're already going to get there. I think the turnout is like super high. I'm pretty sure the turnout is higher now than it was for the 2024 presidential primary. Now, obviously, that wasn't super contested, but I think the turnout's going to be up. If you see where the votes are that are left, it's the Bay Area, which is Steyer's best area. And late-breaking LA County votes. So, like, I think he's still got a shot. We just got to see more. Not seeing enough drops from the Bay. So, like, again, I don't think that he's the favorite, but I think people are I don't think he's 7%. I think he's probably closer to like 20. So he's still got a shot. He's still got a shot. The question is, will the late-breaking, like, Bay Area votes be way more Steyer? And I think they are going to be. Based on the numbers on this page, the total vote will be 9.6. Didn't they just raise the turnout projections for LA? Don't give me such go. Listen, I don't want you to think that I think that he's the favorite. I still think he's not. Like, there's a reason they haven't called it, and it's right to not call it. It's definitely going, like, the Katie Porter margin is definitely going to matter. Like, Katie Porter was the spoiler for the progressive left. She was the Elizabeth Warren. If Katie Porter voters had voted for Tom Steyer, he would have won. She is literally doing another, like, every Elizabeth Warren is the same. So I'd say overall, like, and by the way, the thing that's funny is Hassan Piker had a great track record of his endorsements, but the two people that I didn't want to, the two people that I was the most like, nah, I don't really know if I fuck with them, but I went with them because of Hassan, lost. Joycott and fucking Tom Steyer. I'm not Tom yet, but I'm just saying, like, those were the two where I was kind of like hanging back, and Hassan was like telling me, no, Mike, like, we should go for these guys. I was like, So I don't think this is true. I think it's more like, I think they're undervaluing it. I think they're undervaluing it because I think that the Bay Area votes are going to end up being like plus, they're going to be significantly better for Steyer than expected under the Windcast right now. That's a terrible impression. It wasn't really meant to be. Well, and, you know, listen, and Kat. But I wanted Kat to win. I just didn't want her to be a China warhawk. And the thing is, like, here's the thing. Like, if you guys remember the Kat stuff, like, my concerns with her was that she wasn't a socialist, and then I don't think she was planning on running as a DSA type candidate, which is why she didn't have the connection to the DSA. And then later when Biss got into the race, it was her only lane, and so she tried to tack more left. If she had just tacked left from the beginning and not had the, like, you know, progressive victory type people in her campaign, then I would have had the conflict that we did. Mike for PA, more correct than Hassan. I mean, I'm just pointing out that those are the people that I wasn't really passionate about. Seems like my instincts were kind of right. Hassan says he endorses even when they're a long shot. Yeah, no, me too. Me too. Well, okay, here's the thing. There's a difference between a long shot and a no chance. All right, let's move on. So Iran started hitting Israel with rockets, and Trump was like, stop it. Stop Israel from attacking. Apparently, that's the rumor.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us this Sunday. Tonight, a dangerous turn threatening the already fragile ceasefire in the Middle East. Iran has fired multiple waves of missiles at northern Israel, the strikes lighting up the night sky and sending people rushing to shelter. Most of the missiles appear, though, to have been intercepted, and this video is from Kermanshah, Iran, close to the border with Iraq. People in the streets cheering with the missiles flying overhead. For its part, Iran is demanding Israel stop its attacks on Lebanon, those strikes intensifying this weekend. CBS's Charlie D'Agata is in Tel Aviv and leads us off tonight. Charlie.
Good evening, Jerika. For the first time since the ceasefire went into effect in April, Iran has launched missiles toward Israel tonight, largely contained to the north, but the situation is on a knife edge here across Israel. The Iranian retaliation tonight came after Israeli forces bombed suspected Hezbollah strongholds in southern Beirut. And that's just days after President Trump said he managed to rein in Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu from bombing the Lebanese capital. So we traveled to northern Israel today with Israeli soldiers right to the border with Lebanon, where troops have been pushing deeper into that region in order to establish a sort of buffer zone there. So residents...
So in other words, they're illegally invading Lebanon to steal more territory, just like they did Syria. And the CBS is like, they're making a buffer zone. The amount of like fiber optic drones that are just raining down on Israelis, not looking good, chat.
Spoke to said despite any promise of a ceasefire, they're still coming under rocket and drone attacks nearly every day. So Iran had threatened a swift retaliation, Jerika, warning residents of Israel to watch the skies tonight and saying that U.S. bases in the region had become legitimate targets after these new Israeli airstrikes.
Charlie D'Agata in Tel Aviv, thank you.
He's in Tel Aviv, chat.
Israel and Iran
where
are
you're not, where
engaging in a
everything you
barrage
transmit has to be released through the Israeli military censor.
fresh strikes. It is a major test for negotiations that President Trump said
just the ceasefire where everyone's shooting at each other
yesterday. We're very close to being done. So we're going to start with a new wave of Iranian missile strikes that were launched towards Israel. This is new video into CNN overnight showing damage inside a home in the West Bank. Now, this follows Israeli strikes on an Iranian petrochemical plant. The IDF said that it hit several targets at that complex. Now, these retaliatory strikes appear to be in defiance of President Trump, who called Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and told him to hold off on striking back. Iran's foreign ministry spokesperson said Monday that the U.S., quote, bears responsibility for Israel's actions, going on to say, quote, whatever happens in the region, the direct responsibility of the United States is established, and it will also bear responsibility for the consequences of any escalation. Now, just now on Truth Social, President Trump, just in the last 30 minutes, writing, quote, Israel and Iran must immediately stop shooting. We've got live team coverage throughout the region. We're going to start.
Guys, he truthed out. He truthed out. Stop shooting. He's got a lot of truths. He's truthing legitimately sad, pathetic bullshit.
In Jerusalem with CNN's Oren Lieberman. Oren, can you give us the latest on these strikes so far this morning?
Audie, we just got a briefing a short time ago from an Israeli military official who said that Israel is preparing for the possibility of several days of fighting, and beyond that, the potential for this to become a more prolonged conflict. And that's important because it gives you a sense of what Israel is preparing for. Meanwhile, Tehran has also said they're prepared for a week of conflict. So both Israel and Iran are clearly signaling right now that they're in this for the long haul if that's what this turns into. If it turns into a few days or more of fighting, then they are prepared for that. In fact, it seems the one person who isn't prepared for that is President Donald Trump, who is trying to force through his social media, a de-escalation on both sides in that post on Truth Social that you pointed out. That Israeli military official says that since the start of this, which was only about 13 or 14 hours ago or so, Iran has launched some 30 ballistic missiles at Israel in several barrages. Meanwhile, Israel has carried out its own set of strikes on Iran, targeting surface-to-air missiles, as well as that petrochemical facility that you pointed out. That's key because that may mean that energy infrastructure is fair game for Iran. We should keep an eye on the Gulf region to see if Iran carries out strikes on energy infrastructure there. That would, of course, send oil markets and the energy part of this into turmoil as well, or at least has the potential to do so. So that's a very key element to keep an eye on here. Meanwhile, the Houthis in Yemen have also launched at least 2 missiles at Israel. So right now, it seems like we are climbing the escalation ladder potentially quickly, even as Trump tries to impose a ceasefire here. He has done it on Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu before when it comes to Gaza and Lebanon and even previous conflicts with Iran, and it seems like he is trying to do so once again.
CNN's Fred Pleitgen is in Tehran. We should note CNN operates in Iran only with the permission of the government, but maintains full editorial control of its reports. Here's Fred's report.
On our rooftop position here overlooking Iran's capital, Tehran, we have been able to hear a couple of very loud thuds that could be explosions, and then also some smaller ones in pretty close succession that might have been anti-aircraft fire. Now, that's not confirmed. It's not exactly clear what that is. However, we do know that the Israelis say that they have been striking targets, as they put it, in Iran's capital, Tehran, but also in other Iranian cities, like, for instance, Isfahan and Tabriz. That's also confirmed by the Iranians. And the Iranians also say, and the Israelis also confirm that Israel has hit a petrochemical facility in the south of Iran. It's very close to the Iraqi border, very close to the city of Basra. The Iranians are saying that the staff of that petrochemical facility has been ordered to evacuate that facility. And the Iranians are also saying that they are hitting back in a major way. They say in retaliation for the attack on that petrochemical facility that they launched ballistic missiles towards a similar facility, they put it, in the Israeli city of Haifa. The Iranians also earlier saying that there had been a wave of Iranian ballistic missile attacks targeting 2 Israeli air bases and specifically radar installations affiliated with those air bases. The Iranians are saying right now their missile forces and generally their forces are in a state of complete readiness, and they are also warning the Israelis to stop their military action. Of course, all of this coming as the ceasefire between the U.S. and Iran continues to very much hang in the balance. Iran and the U.S. saying that they are trying to work towards a memorandum of understanding to end the conflict between Iran and the United States, but also to then move towards broader peace talks aimed at achieving a larger peace agreement. The Iranians are saying those talks are in a difficult state. They want some of their frozen assets to be unfrozen immediately. And both sides are acknowledging, of course, right now that especially with these attacks going on, it certainly seems as though that ceasefire and the general situation right now, very volatile. Fred Pleitgen, CNN, Tehran.
Joining us to talk more about the military strategy here is retired Air Force Colonel and CNN military analyst Seth.
I think the thing that's really interesting about the situation is exactly what I said would happen, and yet the markets are not like everybody is basically, we're in this perpetual motion machine of fake ceasefire, market manipulation, and so the question I have is what is the incorrect, what information are we getting wrong, right? Because it's very clear there's no ceasefire. The Strait of Hormuz is not operating. So how are the flows of oil operating that the Strait of Hormuz is no longer significant? Because that's seemingly what's happening. Or are we just in like la la land? Like what's like, there must be some substitutes that are providing, like, where is the oil flowing from that there hasn't been shortages at this point? Has there been reduction in consumption? Has there been demand destruction? Did China just stockpile enough oil? Like, what is there's something that's not accurate about our models of the world, like everybody's models. Or are we like literally delusionally about to run into a brick wall? Like, my uncertainty is going up because, you know, there's only like materially either we have the gas or we don't, and it seems like we still do. China is buying less oil. I mean, that must be it, right? So South Korea had a big crash, but now is climbing again. China is helping to cushion global oil prices below 100, but analysts warn it won't last. I mean, this makes sense. This is actually something that I've been talking about for a long time, was that China bought a bunch of oil when it was cheap, because China is the value add economy, which means they take resources from around the world and they manufacture it into finished products. China is enriched by trade, right? Like, that is how China is enriched. If the machine of trade grinds to a halt, then the economy will slow down, and it will have to go into active demand subsidy, whether through redistribution or a greater involution or something like that. Like, they would have to increase their own domestic consumption. So in order to like protect the world economy, they have been, you know, selling oil that they stockpiled to their, you know, counterparties. Almost Romeo, hell yeah. Starting last month, the U.S. government increased the amount of ethanol in our gas by 5% to stabilize prices. That would lower the octane, and that would reduce the energy potential of the gas. So you'd see a decrease of mileage per gallon, because ethanol has less energy than petroleum. So old engines would be damaged by that, and you would get less miles per gallon. One of the coolest things about being a pilot is you have to learn about engines. So it actually made me like know more about cars by studying planes, because the reason why is if your engine goes bad while you're driving, you just coast to the shoulder and then, you know, you get towed. But if your engine goes bad when you're in the air, you know, you start gliding. The crashing begins immediately. So you need to recognize engine problems and understand that, you know, the common types of engine problem, so you can avoid it, you know, and if something happens, you know why, and you can hopefully fix it. What's really cool about aviation engines is they have two, if you're talking about ICE engines, like in a Cessna or light aircraft, they actually have two sets of spark plugs. I think this chatter is referring to EPA allows sale of 15 ethanol glass. Yeah, no. I'm taking what they're saying as true. Oh no. Oh no. God, that sucks. I started buying premium gas because I'm assuming they can't cut it with ethanol. And does it feel like my car stopped running like shit? Gas isn't evaporating while it's parked. I mean, the modern engines are really cool because, like in an aircraft engine, like in a light aircraft, you will lean the engine, meaning that as you go into the air, like the higher you go, the thinner the air. So the amount of fuel per an air mixture changes, like the optimal. So you want to make sure that it is properly leaned to get maximum efficiency, right? You're changing the amount of fuel that's flowing into the engine based on the density of the air, right? Whereas so in cars, I think they could do something like nobody has a lean mixture, a mixture adjuster inside their car. So it must be done in the computer. So like modern cars can like lean out and they can adjust the way, you know, the fuel flow in the car to maximize efficiency, and also to protect against, you know, improper octane and prevent things like, you know, knocking, detonation, you know, et cetera. What do you feel about E100? Yeah, I mean, well, E100 uses lead. It's actually why light aircraft are a problem for the environment, because they use 100 octane engines, which are fuel, and they call it low lead, which is another way of saying it has lead in it. So it's not good for you. So we've been trying to replace leaded gasoline with alternatives for light aircraft. Incredible cope by the airlines. Oh no. EU sees no jet fuel shortage amid price surge, transport chief says. I mean, I don't think it's cope. I don't think he's lying.
Shortage. There's currently.
I thought they cut a lot of flights.
Not jet fuel shortage in Europe, and we have no signs that we will have a shortage in the coming period. And this is due mostly to the fact that we produce more than 70% of jet fuel in Europe. The main problem is indeed the price of the jet fuel.
Okay, so there's a couple things here. One of the best things about being a lefty is that we understand that the world is made up of material reality. There's a lot of mysticism that goes into market fundamentalism, where they almost become idealistic. They like start losing connection with material reality. And yes, I mean, if jet fuel produced in Europe is not then exposed to foreign competition or bidding, then they won't run out as long as they have, you know, the crude inflows in order to produce it. But if the problem with that is if they don't let the jet fuel price it, like, first of all, if they cut out all foreign consumers, they're going to have jet fuel shortage, right? And if they keep the jet fuel prices low relative to the rest of the world, that's going to create a corresponding increase in crude oil. And then there's going to be a situation of like, are they going to absolutely subsidize jet fuel consumption by Europeans? And they're going to harm their counterparties who are no longer able to bid? So maybe the Europeans won't run out of jet fuel, but it'll still have massive negative effects on the rest of the economy.
Because at one point it even doubled the price before the war. Now it has de-escalated a little bit. However, this is a problem for the airlines, and this is why we see that some airlines are choosing to cancel some of their routes.
Oh my God. Safer grids, EU's Chinese solar inverter ban reshapes renewable energy. Oh my God. Are you fucking serious? Oh my God. I told you that would happen, by the way. Like a long time ago, I told you that the Europeans were going to work against their own interest because the entire European political class are CIA agents. They're basically, the entire European political class are CIA agents. And that's what's so funny about Europeans standing in judgment of America. You guys are our puppets. Everything that America's doing, you are doing without a fight. Like, you don't even have your own country under domestic like control. You're like cut to the US. So this, ladies and gentlemen, is just bad for Europe. Like, Europeans are fucked from this kind of shit.
Frederick Layton, good morning. So first, I want to talk about this escalation, because people may be hearing about the back and forth between Israel and Hezbollah for many weeks. Why did this particular round of strikes kick off?
Yeah, good morning, Audie. The reason this particular round of strikes kicked off was because the Israelis hit the suburb, the Beirut suburb of Dahya. That's where the Hezbollah has its main headquarters, and there are a lot of Hezbollah personnel, for lack of a better term, in the Dahya neighborhood. So the reason the Iranians basically came to the defense of the Hezbollah entities there was because Hezbollah is basically Iran's main proxy in the region, and they need Hezbollah in order not only to keep an eye on Israel, but also to potentially mount attacks on Israel. So every time that there's destruction to Hezbollah, Iran sees this as not only destruction of Hezbollah, but also of their own forces, even though they are absolutely separate. So this is, in essence, what's going on. They decided, the Iranians decided, that it was a time to respond to the Israeli attacks, and especially one as blatant as the one on Dahya, in their view. And the reason they did that is because they want the ceasefire to cover not just Iran, but also the Lebanese territory, where the Israelis have conducted repeated actions against Hezbollah.
You talked about proxies, and then this also brings me to the Houthis in Yemen, because there's some reporting there that they were saying they wanted to prevent shipping through the Red Sea, which sounds very familiar to those of us who have been hearing about Iran preventing shipping through the Strait of Hormuz. Does this threaten broader conflict? Are we seeing hints of that?
Yeah, there's definitely the possibility that this could widen into a bigger regional conflict, at least. So on the eastern side of the Arabian Peninsula, you have the Strait of Hormuz, which is the area that we've been talking about for quite some time. And then on the western side, you have what's known as the Bab al-Mandeb, and that is that very narrow point between the Red Sea as it empties out into the Indian Ocean. So this is an area where these are so-called choke points, and every time those are cut off, that impacts global shipping, global trade, and it means that prices go up, oil becomes scarcer, and that creates the economic issues that we're seeing in a lot of the world right now.
We hear President Trump framing the U.S. involvement more as precaution, not escalation. I want to play for you something that happened on NBC's Meet the Press. This was before all of this news about this escalation, but here it is.
If you're not specifically calling it a war, would you consider sending some of the troops who are stationed there, who were sent because of Operation Epic Fury there home? No, would you consider sending them home if it's not technically a war?
We don't need as many troops. I think it's just like it's on the to err on the side of caution.
What are we looking at? Is it a kind of carrot and stick, meaning the U.S. is doing the negotiating, but Israel is leaning hard on the military pressure?
Well, potentially. So, it's interesting when you look at President Trump's remarks, they, on the one hand, he's kind of hedging his bets here. He does admit to the possibility of withdrawing some of the troops that are in the Middle East. And I think what he's referring to are the troops that came in addition to the ones that were already stationed in the Middle East. So what he doesn't want to do is withdraw completely from the region, which is actually Iran's goal. So
if we withdrew completely from the region, took $1.5 trillion and plowed it into renewable energy, nuclear power, upgrading our electrical grid, we would never have to give a shit about these countries ever again. We literally would not. We would just sit here with infinite fucking wealth and be involved in a lot less world conflict, and a lot of these countries would probably improve and secularize. And the Islamo-fascist alliances that we have, which is ISIS is basically an American-Israeli cutout. Al-Qaeda is we work with Al-Qaeda in Syria. The Saudi Arabian theocracy would not exist. The theocratic monarchy would not exist. If we just withdrew the fuck out of the Middle East and let people live and develop their politics as they see fit, the world would be a much safer place. Mike, it would kill the petrodollar and we would be broke. Bro, we literally produce oil. Honestly, we could bully people to keep using the petrodollar. We still control finance. We still control world finance. We still are the head of every institution. In fact, if you want to have the petrodollar last into the future, you do so by making Russia and China dependent upon it. You use diplomacy and finance to entrap them, which we were doing. It was working.
Completely from the region, that would satisfy Iran, but it wouldn't protect the
Yes,
Arab
I
Gulf.
have seen how close Peru is. I'm going to wait till that. I'm going to probably do something on the Peru election tomorrow. But the Fujimori, Peru keeps having 50-50 elections, and it's fucking crazy.
States like Saudi Arabia, Qatar, the UAE, Kuwait, and Bahrain. So that becomes a critical point right here. He, in essence, really can't withdraw if he doesn't want to show weakness, and that becomes, I think, the critical point right here.
One more thing. We know that these strikes started back earlier in the year. They were U.S.-Israeli joint strikes. The U.S. gives a lot of military support, intelligence support to Israel. So could what we're seeing right now even happen without U.S. support?
It could, and the reason I think we see limited strikes in the western and central parts of Iran, at least so far, is because the Israelis do have a capability to conduct those strikes on their own. They have their own refueling capability, although it's somewhat limited compared to what the U.S. can offer. Generally speaking, if the strikes were much more extensive or repeated over a series of days, then that would probably indicate a greater U.S. involvement. There may be some U.S. involvement, but it is absolutely possible that these strikes are occurring without direct U.S. involvement at the moment.
Okay, that's Colonel Cedric Layton. Thank you for your insight. Appreciate you.
All right, chat. Graham Plattner just posted something that this is why the anti-Graham Plattner left. One of the things you see about them is they never actually show Graham Plattner saying anything. If you watched a video from Adam Pinato, or let's just say all the greater Cinemarxist universe, they never actually play any videos of Graham Plattner talking. This is what it sounds like when Graham Plattner campaigns.
If I had my way, elections would last 2 months. They would be publicly funded. And if a billionaire looked at a TV ad the wrong way, we'd put him in jail. If I had my way, elections would last 2 months. They would be publicly funded. And if a billionaire...
why? Isn't that odd? Somebody asked me to watch. There's another content creator on Twitch that people wanted me to watch their video on Graham Plattner, and it's like you scrub through it, and it's like there's no videos of Graham Plattner talking. How do you make a 25-minute video on somebody and not actually show him talking about literally anything? That's fucking weird. Like, you say he sucks. Why don't you show me how he sucks? Like him talking about policies.
Democracy Now!, democracynow.org. I'm Amy Goodman. Voters in Maine are heading to the polls Tuesday for a closely watched primary that could help determine whether Democrats retake control
Chat,
of the
everyone bend the knee. For Pakistani lover boys, tier fucking 3 resub.
Senate. On the Republican side, Susan Collins is running unopposed as she seeks her 6th term in the Senate. On the Democratic side, 41-year-old oysterman and Marine vet Graham Plattner has led the polls for months, running as a progressive populist backed by Senators Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren, Congressman Ro Khanna, and others. On the campaign trail, Plattner's repeatedly targeted the billionaire class and called for a wealth tax, Medicare for all, and other progressive policies. In late April, Maine's Democratic Governor Janet Mills suspended her Senate campaign after polls showed Plattner easily beating her in the primary. But Governor Mills never officially withdrew, and her name remains on the ballot. Since launching his campaign, Plattner has faced numerous controversies, many stemming from his actions in the years after returning from fighting in Iraq and Afghanistan, a time when he says he was suffering from PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, and was self-medicating with alcohol. The initial controversies focused on old posts Plattner made on Reddit and on a tattoo on his chest that resembled a Nazi symbol. Plattner says he got the tattoo while on military leave in Croatia 20 years ago and has denied knowing about the design's association with Nazis.
By the way, this screenshot was at a Jewish wedding. This symbol is so obscure to regular people that at a Jewish wedding, nobody noticed. I think it might actually be kind of funny to do a survey where you test a bunch of symbols. Like you show them you show them Totenkopf, you show them the Jolly Roger, you show them like, you know, the Don't Tread on Me flag, the Appeal to Heaven flag. Like you go through all sorts of like the South African flag, all these like the SA symbol. I'm pretty sure that I could show people various symbols from Nazi Germany that I know, the Der Weilger Brigade symbol, and they wouldn't know what the fuck they are. Everybody who's doing this like, oh my God, it's a Totenkopf, none of them would recognize. Oh my God, I should do a debate on shh. All right, I have an idea.
He's apologized for the social media posts, saying they were written at, quote, a time in my life where I was struggling.
You know what I was thinking about doing, chat? I was thinking about starting a secondary channel that was just for debate streams, because I'm realizing that there is demand for like left-wing debate, but there isn't anybody that I like doing it. And I don't really want to make my main I don't want to have that be main channel content. Like, I don't really want to inflict that on you guys, but just like have, you know, find somebody who's a debate lord that is going to be intelligent and who will shut out all of the Destiny cultists. Like, we need to make sure anybody who's like kind of friendly with Destiny is denied access to it, and we can build up our own platform where, because he doesn't really represent any faction in the Democratic Party. You know what I mean? Like he's not really a liberal. He's not really a Democrat even. He's just kind of a carbuncle. You should get a manager that is constantly trying to book you for stuff as much as possible. I really should. Gaming channel instead. Yeah, I have one. It's called VIO. If you want to see me gaming, go to the VIO channel. Denom's refugee reporting for duty. Hell yeah. I'm so happy for Denims. I think that the thing about like Denim's lawsuit is the stress of being sued is so much. I'm sure she just wants it to be over. But I think she should, you know, I'm sure like Ethan is going to try to appeal. So they probably are going to have to do an appellate. So they have probably another appellate level that's going to happen. So I don't think the case is going to end because he's going to keep using his money to extend it even further. And it's the same thing with Noah Sampson. Like he's going to lose slap. Then he's going to appeal it again. So there's going to be another appellate level and he'll lose again, but it'll take another year. That's my prediction. She was talking about that on Saturday. She's prepared for an appeal. I need to like talk to her. What we should do, we need to like, man, I have an idea. Like all of Ethan Klein's lawsuits are meritless. And I was thinking about what if we got together like we started a litigation financing company and we got investors and we just promised to like, because he will probably owe lawyers and attorneys fees if we carry through these lawsuits to their full extent. And then obviously the people that are being sued don't have the assets. So if we could form like a litigation financing company, maybe we could like finance the remainder of the lawsuit in return for getting all the back lawyer fees. You know what I mean? So like right now, let's say that there's like $150,000 in already expended lawyers fees that would be owed if Ethan Klein loses all these lawsuits, right? But it'll cost another $50,000 to get it, you know? If we paid $50,000 more in order to try to get $150,000, that would be like an opportunity so that it would go off their plate. They no longer would have to worry about it. And it would just be a risk for the other people. I really want to make sure that these lawsuits go on, you know, and I don't want people to settle with Ethan Klein. That's a very capitalist idea. I'm sorry. I know a lot about capitalism because I'm a socialist. So this type of stuff does go on. I have some ideas. I wonder if Enum's, okay, this is not really for stream. I have some ideas. Trump is closing. Can we do a community investment? I can't. That would be me offering securities, so I can't do that, chat, because you're not qualified investors. So I don't want to offer you securities on my stream, you know? But I got to figure something out. Trump is closing 10 city blocks on Midtown Manhattan at rush hour and building a wall around Madison Square Garden. What the fuck? God, he's such a fucking dipshit. Holy fucking hell. God. He's going to... What? Oh, Knicks are gonna lose because he's such a negative force. Fuck me.
Unquote. In recent weeks, 2 more scandals emerged. First, it was revealed he'd sent sexually explicit text messages to at least 6 women after getting married in 2023. Then the New York Times published an article headlined, "Several Women Who Dated Graham Plattner Recall Unsettling Behavior," unquote. On Thursday, Plattner, interviewed by Chris Hayes on MS Now, said this.
There are some allegations in this piece that I just want to be kind of unequivocal about are simply not true. Anything alleging physicality, anything alleging that I knew what my tattoo was, these are the statements of someone who's politically motivated. In this piece, there's a lot about my struggling, not being a good boyfriend, certainly self-medicating with alcohol, and I've been very upfront since the beginning of this campaign that was a pretty dark period of my life after I came back from my combat service, and that's what that kind of life looks like. And so there are things in this that I absolutely will take responsibility for and have been speaking about openly for months now. But those serious allegations are just not true.
You did not grab her by the wrist. You did not put your hands on her shoulders. You did not push her into a room that you closed the door on. She's lying about that, is what you're saying.
Yes, that is not true.
On Friday, Graham Plattner campaigned.
And by the way, like, notice that everything she's saying, like, it's unverifiable, right? And like, listen, when we talk about Me Too, it doesn't mean believe everybody with no critical thinking in every circumstance. It just means that we need to change our culture from one of skepticism to one of a base of trust and investigation, right? But there are some psychotic people that would lie about this type of shit. Like, that does happen. And denying that it does actually it enables right-wing grifting, right-wing lies. She is an anti-feminist. She attacked the victims of people like Brett Kavanaugh. She is a bad faith liar. So when a bad faith liar suddenly starts going against type and going to the opposite of what they've always said, and the accusations are those of a non-verifiable, corroborated nature for the purpose of advancing the conservative movement, we need to not be rubes about it, okay? Theo has brought me cheese and fruit and cracker. These are big bad empanadas. Wow. In my house, crackers are known as bad empanadas. Thank you. Let's keep going.
In Bar Harbor, Maine, where he took aim at the nation's billionaire.
The time in my life where that hard work ceased being enough, we have also watched the largest transfer of wealth from the working class to the ruling class in the history of this nation. In 1990, there were fewer than 80 billionaires.
I have to say, like, the fact that we haven't fallen for these woke one style bad faith attacks is giving me so much fucking hope. Like, legitimately, it's giving me so much hope that people are not falling for this and they're actually keeping their eyes on the ball. Now, obviously, with any politician, if something comes out that is so super credible and criminal, you know, there is a line. But this stuff is so blatantly fucking like politically motivated. The fact that the left is starting to get a sense of what power is a very important thing, and it is a gain. Devastating new attack on Platter. Yeah, we played that already.
In the United States. Today, there are over 900. I ask you, when you look around, do you see a state of Maine that is 10 times wealthier than 1990? No. Do we have 10 times the schools? No. 10 times the hospitals? No. Do our paychecks go 10 times as far? No. Do we have 10 times the free time? No. In fact, we have less. Fewer schools, fewer hospitals. Our paychecks run out earlier in the month, and we have less time because everybody's working harder.
Democratic Congressman Ro Khanna also spoke at the Graham-Plattner Bar Harbor rally on Friday. On Sunday, he appeared on CBS's Face the Nation, as was questioned about Plattner by host Margaret Brennan.
Survive another scandal? You got 5 months here.
Well, it depends what. I'm not, you know, I mean, obviously, if there was any evidence that comes out that there is actual domestic violence or assault, I have zero tolerance for that. I led the fight against the Epstein class, which has been a cover-up for sexual abuse with Thomas Massey. I've been at the forefront of championing women's rights and rights of survivors. But here you have a case of someone who had a dark chapter in his life, who was in toxic relationships, was ashamed about it, who served this country, and the Maine voters are saying, look, let's give him some grace. And his focus is stopping these wars, and it's getting national health insurance, and it's taking on economic inequality.
To talk more about Graham-Plattner's run for the Senate, we'll be joined by two guests. In a moment, we'll go to Portland, Maine, to speak with the anti-racist organizer Shay Stewart.
Do you think AOC is smart for not blacking Plattner right now? I feel like in a purple district, like, I think the AOC endorsement really doesn't matter right now. And I think it's wise of her to let things carry forward for a bit. I think she should endorse Claire Valdez. That's what we should be yelling at AOC for. AOC should be endorsing Claire Valdez and Dara Lisa. That's what I'm mad about AOC for. I don't give it, like, the Plattner shit. Let's wait until later. Primary is a done deal. If you want to criticize AOC, you need to criticize her for not endorsing Zoran's endorsees. They need to coordinate better.
But first, we're joined by Kim Villanueva, the national president of the National Organization for Women PAC. Kim, thanks so much for being with us.
Oh, okay. This is interesting. What is now going to say?
Talk about the race, what you're concerned about, and why you're telling people to vote for Governor Mills, who actually, while she didn't pull out of the Senate race, she did suspend her campaign.
This does not surprise me at all. I was curious if they were like, actually, this is awesome. I want them to say this. I want them to say this. Like, I want to see how Mills gets absolutely fucking turfed tomorrow. I want to see just how bad it is, how immaterial they are.
And even with these controversies, didn't re-enter with rallies like Plattner is having right now to take on Senator Collins.
Right. Well, we endorsed Governor Mills very early in the race because of her record on women's rights and women's issues, and the fact that she has shown leadership over time. She's been a district attorney, attorney general, and a governor. And we feel that her record is the best and her leadership is the best to represent women.
So talk about your concerns with Graham-Plattner right now. You heard, for example, Ro Khanna saying he's the leader on demanding respect for the women in the case of Epstein and the release of the Epstein files. But he is supporting Plattner right now for his progressive position.
Right. Well, we've also worked with Representative Khanna on the Epstein files and certainly defending the survivors of sexual violence and sexual abuse. In this situation, just because someone holds a progressive policy position doesn't excuse them from making or holding harmful views against women. Hate speech is hate speech. And so that's what now is about. We call out statements against women. We want we want people to respect women. We have a president who thinks it's okay to make nasty comments about women and make fun of women. And so when that happens, we call it out.
The question, one of the questions is, who can beat the Republican Susan Collins, who supported, for example, the nomination of and the confirmation of Brett Kavanaugh as Supreme Court Justice? Let me go to a clip right now. This is Graham Plattner speaking in Bar Harbor.
One of the most powerful political systems in the history of the world. It is a system of billionaires and special interests. It is a system of corrupted politicians like Susan Collins. Susan Collins, who for years has given us some charade that she's a moderate, that she stands up against her party, that she cares about her constituents more than she cares about those that donate money to her. We see through it. We see through the charade, and we see through it because of what she does. She voted to confirm Brett Kavanaugh, who before he was busy dismantling the Voting Rights Act and taking voting rights away from black Southerners, he was busy getting down to the work he went there for, which was dismantling a woman's right to choose. And she told us that that was settled law. She looked him in the eyes and he told her that he would never do such a thing. Well, either she lied to us or she's a fool. Either way, you shouldn't be a United States Senator from the state of Maine.
I don't agree with what Plattner said, but saying women should be careful about who they get blackout drunk around isn't the worst misogynistic thing anyone could say. God forbid I'm judged on the least woke things I've ever said in my life. Jesus fucking Christ. Okay, let me just say this. There is a division between practical advice and political conversation or theoretical conversation. If I went into a women's rights or women's studies class and said, women, if you get drunk and you're walking around the city streets in a misogynistic society, well, then you're taking an irresponsible risk, right? That would be misogynistic. If I was talking to my daughter and I was saying, hey, this is a misogynistic society and you need to protect yourself because women are attacked, that would be good advice, right? Like, it's the same statement in a different context has a different political story. And so what they're doing really is they're taking something he's saying, which is we live in a rape culture and it's practical to, as a woman, protect yourself and to reduce your risks of being victimized, which is an unfortunate reality of our culture, is that date rape is the most common form of rape. And when you make yourself vulnerable by getting really intoxicated around somebody, you should be aware of that risk. It's bad that people rape women. He's not saying women deserve to get raped in that situation. He's saying, and I think he phrased it in the wrong way. He phrased it in a way that it's bad. But that is not actually upholding rape culture. He's not saying you deserved it. He's saying you could have done this and this and this to try to mitigate the risk. Now, I think that's Monday morning quarterbacking, probably unhelpful, blah, blah, blah. It is uncouth. It's not the way that we should be talking about it, but it isn't him defending rape. It isn't him saying that it's good. It's not him blaming victims. It is a practical life advice for a misogynistic rape culture society to be aware of how, to protect yourself. It's just street smarts. Like, telling people street smarts is fucking misogyny is fucking upper middle class bullshit. And it makes feminism look uncredible to a lot of people, to people that are like, they live in this society. What feminism should be saying is, it's bad that we live in a rape culture where women have to think like this to protect themselves. That's bad. And we all need to be part of standing against that kind of society where women are blamed. And if somebody gets victimized and they made mistakes, or they did things that increased their risk, but then they were victimized, The focus is still on the victimizer, on the rapist, on the criminal, not on the victim. We're not going to go in while somebody's getting a rape kit collected and go, did you get drunk around somebody that you shouldn't have? Like, we're not doing that. That's not what we're doing. It's more of a prophylaxis of street smarts, and equating that with victim blaming is actually misogynistic. It is actually fucking disgusting. It is actually marginalizing feminism. I like, it's such a cynical fucking lie, by the way. It's like saying, you know, talking to a queer kid and being like, hey, there's a lot of homophobes. So make sure you protect yourself. Make sure you go out in a group. Make sure that you have, you know, pepper spray and you have emergency contact numbers and you know exactly where you are and where you're going and blah, 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 blah. That street smarts is not the same thing as justifying homophobia or justifying misogyny. It is an acknowledgement of material reality and trying to survive. It's such bullshit. It's so disgusting to say that this is misogyny. This is why people think libs are stupid. This is why regular people think libs are stupid. Because when you say stuff to this, like your daughter, like, hey, when you're drinking, make sure you're with people, a mixed group. Make sure you're with a group of people that you trust. You know, be careful about getting really intoxicated. Be careful, you know, make sure that your drink is not unattended. You know, stuff like that is not justifying rape culture. Like, that is just like, come on, man. Like, give me a fucking break.
So that is Graham Plattner. Are you concerned that now?
I don't know how, but we somehow need a better candidate than this. That, ladies and gentlemen, is a Zionist psyop. That right there is the Zionist psyop. You don't go to war with your imagination. You don't go to war. You know, I wish $1 million would get donated to my stream right now. Oh, damn. It didn't happen. You don't wish upon a star. You run with the campaigns and the candidates that you have. He's going to win. He's going to win. There is no one else. He's the guy. Every single candidate ever is going to have stuff like this because they're human fucking beings. Sometimes they're going to say stuff that offends us because, you know, it seems like they made a triangulation. Sometimes they're going to have some personal foible. Who gives a shit? Now, there's obviously a limit, and you're going to feel different types of way about different types of candidates. That's human. But the idea of going like, oh, man, I can't believe this is the best we've got. Graham Plattner is there because he actually did it. He actually ran. He actually organized and convinced the majority of the people of Maine to support him. That's not something that's cheap. That's not something that's easy. That's not something that we can replace just by switching a name on the ballot. Yeah, there are downsides. He's been attacked a lot. The reason why you know he has downsides is because he actually did it. If I ran, they do the same thing to me. If Hassan ran, they do the same thing to Hassan. If one of you ran, they do the same thing to you. They would dig up something in our past and blow it up to look huge. They would try to. Why? It's not because I deserve it. It's because I have policies they're trying to stop. You need to be better than that. You need to be smarter than that. You need to not be a normie. You're not normies. If you're in the Mike from PA chat at 9:47 a.m. on a Monday talking about politics, you're not a normie. I need you to be smarter than a normie. It shouldn't be surprising that a normie gets distracted by personalities, okay? It shouldn't be a surprise that a normie gets distracted by like non-ideological shit. You're supposed to be the organized online left who thinks about politics all the time. Why are you getting distracted by fucking jangling chains and keys? You're supposed to be the people that say, I am analyzing politics. Graham Plattner is attacking the Zionist entity by cutting off their logistical supply, their diplomatic support. I'm locked the fuck in. Killing Israel goes through Graham Plattner's victory. Lock the fuck in. Meanwhile, they're like, guys, he had a Reddit post that was not woke. Guys, I don't have keys with me. I just have like nail clippers. But look, I need to go get my jangly keys. They're in my key bowl by the door, so I don't lose them. I need to jangle some keys. Guys, he had a Reddit post. Guys, he had a Reddit post. You're supposed to be smarter than that. You're supposed to be ideological. Like, what the fuck are you saying? Never show your keys on camera. True. Here is Graham Plattner writing about Michael Brooks. Rest in power, Michael Brooks. He was a huge part of my politics, moving further left and revolutionary. I'm feeling a serious sense of loss right now. I'm not even sure what to say. I'm just so thankful for his intellect and knowledge. We are stronger because of him. but we have lost something with his passing. Posted in the Socialist Rifle Association. If I had told you in 2020 that a Socialist Rifle Association poster and fan of Michael Brooks was about to win the Maine primary, you would have fucking given up your left testicle for that outcome. And now you're trying to tell me it sucks? You have been psyoped by the dumbest grifters on the planet. Like, stop being grifted by people who don't do any fucking politics but post online and beg you for subscriptions. And that's the grand total of their political work. No candidates on their streams, no signs of them doing any activism outside of maybe filming somebody else. Get your shit together, man. Mike, I'm a black chatter. That's exactly how I feel when they try to do the Hassan is anti-black. He wasn't nice to Kamala during her campaign. It's like motherfuckers that fall for this shit really get distracted so easily by jingling keys. They don't. They don't, though. People don't do these kind of attacks if they think you're smart. Like, Tabernacle doesn't think you're smart. Adipinata doesn't think you're smart. He thinks you're a dope. That he can distract with jingling keys and he can grift off of Graham Plattner's name and get views and make $100 a video, and they just keep putting out that slop. I post 70 videos about Graham Plattner. I make $100 a video, and now I'm making 6 figs. That's what they think. It's not about like a political plan. Graham Plattner is popular because he is actual, like the algorithm is there because there's so much energy being put in destroying the guy. And they're just grabbing hold of it cynically as a grifter. He wasn't just an SRA member. He was the one who put on rifle courses for my SRA chapter. It's funny because local ultras like him because of this, and online ones hate him for some reason because they are fucking stupid. So I've been trolling about Graham Plattner a lot. Me and Noah Sampson had a very long and nuanced conversation. By the way, Chad, I watched it. It was brain dead. The only reason I didn't react to it is because I like Noah, and I don't think that I could react to that video and maintain maintain my fucking bearing because it was really bad. Like, if you want an hour of people going, well, he was a veteran. Yeah, I can't believe he was a veteran. Yeah, he was a veteran. Did you know that he worked for the State Department to be a bodyguard for 6 months? Wow, he was a veteran. Did you guys know he was a veteran? For like an hour? That's nuanced. And like, why do people support him? I don't know. Why do people support him? I don't know why people support him. If that's what you think is a good, nuanced conversation, you might not be very bright. I'm sorry. It was not good. It was not good. And I like Noah, you know, but like, come on. Like, come on, man. Nuanced conversation. It was, I'm 28 years old or 27 years old. I was a baby when we invaded Iraq. I don't know what politics was like before 2016 in this country. I grew up in an era where I could create myself a bubble in Los Angeles, California, where I was surrounded by nothing but socialists. And I think that my politics are more hegemonic than they actually are. Like, that's the conversation. It's not a, hey, we're actually on the precipice of global fascism and Zionist exterminationism and the Greater Israel Project working. A lot of people dislike Israel. That's different than defeating it. Consciousness is step one. And like, I'm sorry, like, I lost all respect for Tabernacle and Bad and Panada from the anti-Hassan grifting. Like, you know, it is what it is.
How's position could help elect Susan Collins?
Well, now endorsed Governor Mills very early in the race because of her record. And the purpose of an endorsement is to lead, not to follow. So we stand by that endorsement and feel that she is still the best candidate on the ballot. In terms of who's going to take on Trump and the establishment and the systems of oppression, we think that it's Janet Mills. She's already shown that she has taken on Trump. When he threatened to pull federal funding from Maine, she looked him in the eye and said, I'll see you in court. So that's leadership under pressure. We think that she's the best one to take on the systems that are hurting American families and American women.
She did stand up against Trump pulling federal funds from Maine over trans athletes, support for trans athletes.
Well, she didn't actually support trans athletes. She did this thing like, that's not what the law says. She didn't like actively support trans people, right? Like, that's not what actually happened.
But right now, even as Governor Mills said she hasn't pulled out of the race, she only suspended it, it's not as if she is campaigning. What will that mean in the general election if she takes the position she does?
She didn't drop out, but she suspended her campaign. It seems like people are failing at step 1. What about step 3 and 4? Can they go beyond step 1? Well, step 2 is taking state power. Step 2 is like having mass mobilization, where we grow beyond a rump of online communities and fringe groups, and we actually start seizing geographic extents for our position, and we start advancing our political program in the political realm, and it has credibility with the masses, and that the major parties are threatened by being opposed to our program. That's how we did abolition. That's how we did the civil rights movement. That's how we did gay rights. That's what we've done time and time and time again, is you make the establishment quake.
And Susan Collins vigorously campaigned.
Well, I think that by winning the primary will invigorate the campaign, and certainly people will come out and want to support anyone who's going to take on Trump and anyone who's going to help women, children, families. I mean, we're all suffering under the Trump regime. We have to do something. And we think that Jana Mills is the best person to lead us to do that.
Kim Villanueva, we want to thank you for being with us, national president.
Like, here is his post from 2020, 6 years ago. How do you folks feel about your time in uniform? I spent 8 years in the infantry, ended up doing 4 combat tours. I find it difficult to square my time in the service with how I feel about the military adventure I took part in. On one hand, I love the infantry, not just the camaraderie or the sense of purpose, but the actual job itself. Small unit combat is challenging, both physically and mentally. The skills it takes to be successful were ones I took to. Stress management, fitness, firearm skills, ability to read terrain, utilize tactics were things I found and still find enjoyable. I never really found much pleasure in the violence itself, but I certainly enjoyed the competition and challenges. To this day, nothing has really brought me the same sense of fulfillment as running a machine gun section or a rifle squad in combat. Simultaneously, I'm embarrassed by my time overseas. The fragrant absurdity of the endeavors, the waste of lives and money, the sadism and disregard for human life I saw from both commanders and comrades. Both the wars I fought in have been blatant cash grabs by unscrupulous corporations, paid for by the deaths of guys I knew personally. Nothing disgusts me more than my participation in these imperial adventures. I also can't stand the weird violence fetish of many veterans, where human suffering gets reduced to some off-color joke and the people we fought are seen as a caricature. I won't pretend that I fully embrace the values of the dudes I fought against, but I can certainly respect their choice in joining the fight. In Afghanistan, I have nothing but respect for the elements we were engaged with. They were effective light infantry and gave us a run for our money. Every day, I both miss my time in the infantry while being disgusted by my part in it. It makes up a significant part of who I am, and I'm very proud of some of the actions I took part in. It is also something that brings me great pain and frustration. These two forces are extremely difficult to reconcile, and I'm curious how other folks manage them. Now, a lot of people will say that they're a radical leftist who believes in prison abolition and rehabilitative justice, right? That we should tear down every prison, we should fire every cop, and we should have rehabilitative justice. Anarchism now, right? Those same exact people will say this guy should be defeated for Zionist Susan Collins. This is obviously exactly the type of guy we should want in our movement. And I'm not shy of saying this, right? And the reason why I'm saying this is I understand that it's going to offend a certain type of person. The type of person who it'll offend, I don't want around me. I am legitimately doing this intentionally. I don't want the type of person that reads this and goes, I'm going to spend my time trying to defeat this guy or slandering this guy to protect the Zionist establishment effectively. I just don't want those type of people in my organizing space. I think they're annoying. I think they're stupid. And yeah, he definitely did bad shit by being in the American military. Every single revolutionary movement that had a success brought men like this on board. When the fascist government of Portugal was ended, it was ended by the Carnation Revolution, which was when imperial officers of the Portuguese imperial military overthrew the government with the people. The armed forces is moved. Now, I know that the anarchists that hate Graham Platter so much, they would be against this because these guys served in fucking India. They served in Africa as members of the Imperial East Timor. They served in East Timor. They fought in the literal colonial wars of Portuguese fascist government. And they came back to their country and said, we have got to stop this. We have to fight back against our own government. The MFA developed in the early 70s as a movement of captains, young officers who had been involved in the colonial war against the separatist movements of the African overseas provinces of Angola, Mozambique, and Portuguese Guinea. These guys fought some of the most evil wars in history on the side of evil. And they said, I am, just like Grant Platter, they said, I am disgusted. And they came home and they led a revolution that was joined by the people. It's called the Carnation Revolution because when they said, we're done with the coup, the people rose up and they joined the soldiers. Carnation Revolution got its name for the fact that almost no shots were fired, and restaurant workers who offered carnations to soldiers who the population took to the streets to celebrate the end of the dictatorship. Other demonstrators followed suit and placed carnations in the muzzles of guns and on soldiers' uniforms. I mean, I'm telling you this because the reality of every successful left-wing movement is also convincing guys like Graham Plattner to leave the imperialist side. And what you guys are doing by trashing him and his desire to change is making it less likely that we stop the empire. Because there's trillions of dollars being spent every year to uphold the empire. And then you're telling people in the spaces that we control, no forgiveness for you. If we win, we're going to make your life hell. Well, no shit, we're not going to win. No shit, we're not going to grow. It's stupid. And it's just like, and I bring up these stories not to say Graham Plattner is the same. These people were incredibly brave. But is to say that a movement that is focused on like trying to virtue signal about veteran status by 26-year-olds who grew up in the world that Graham Plattner and other left-wing movements have now created through painstaking effort to create spaces where being a fucking rad lib is even viable. That you could even have a Twitch channel where people are rad libs is a fucking amazing sign of our own progress. But I need you to stop being counterproductive to our further growth. I need you to stop being a fucking drag shoot or a drogue shoot that's slowing down our progress with your dumb comments that literally don't serve any purpose.
There's never been a revolutionary movement that has succeeded that did not directly recruit from the formal imperial forces or reactionary nationalist forces. You are fucking delusional. None of you know how to hold a gun. Okay? Shut the fuck up.
Well, for them, they don't even like, that's the thing. They're so unserious. And of course, everything I'm saying is Hasan's position. So if you hate what I'm saying, you also have to hate Hasan. You also have to hate Hasan because everything I'm saying, he fucking agrees with. Here he is agreeing with it. You can't hate me and love Hasan. It's a contradiction. We agree on this point. And the other thing that is very important for you to understand, it's very important that you understand this, is that Americans don't hate veterans. They don't. Just like Canadians don't hate their veterans, and Brits don't hate their veterans, and French people don't hate their veterans. Being anti your own country's veterans is a fringe position. Because people don't think of them as imperialists. They think of them as people that were propagandized into believing they were serving their own people. Even though that's wrong. They were slaves for the capitalist class. But people don't hold veterans responsible. They hold the people that sent them overseas responsible, which, by the way, is logically true. So if you're somebody who despises veterans, I'm not, especially if you're overseas in Iraq, I have no problem with you hating every American. That's logical. You were oppressed by us. Of course you can hate us. That's a reasonable human position. But if you're going to be a fat Westerner soaking up money, like, you know, give me a fucking break. These ultras don't understand that fascism only works if you successfully create a separate military class that doesn't mix with civilians. That kind of mentality is the most dangerous mentality. That's why they were That's why fascism won in Germany, because the military was completely corrupted and connected to fascism. And there was no military resistance.
Just please.
They don't really see revolutions as like actual revolution. Like when you think of when I think of revolutions, I think of the Long March. I think of the Russian Revolution. I think of guns firing and soldiers marching and artillery shells and trains and millions of people struggling against millions of other people. They don't see revolution. They see revolution as everybody going out to the streets and spontaneously ending the way that we organize stuff and then just spontaneously, collectively developing something. They don't see it as like an actual military engagement. They wouldn't even understand what that would even look like. They can't run a fucking local burger joint, let alone a military conflict among hundreds of millions of people. For them, revolution is the same thing as hoping for the rapture. It's the other side of the American coin. On the left, they want the magic revolution. On the right, they want Jesus to rapture everybody and suck them out of their clothes. It's the same type of mentality. It should surprise you that a lot of the kind of like ultras come from the South. They've just flipped the coin to the other side, which is instead of we're all getting sucked out of our clothes by Jesus, we're all being raptured by Marx's magic revolution, even though Marx would have completely condemned you as being stupid. I don't even think they think that far ahead. They're just posting about whatever gets trending. I mean, that's exactly what I'm making fun of, right? Like I'm making fun of them. It's like, remember how, like, for example, Marxism would come in my chat and like trash Zoran right before the Democratic primary? What was that, June? I'll have to find it. But like, he was coming here trashing him, and I was like, what the fuck are you saying? Then after Zoran won, now suddenly he loves Zoran. Now he fucking loves Zoran. Meanwhile, Zoran has just announced a new program. I'm trying to find it. Did somebody, like, I just saw a Zoran posting about his new, oh, here it is.
Block by block, let the largest city in the nation deliver the largest municipal housing transformation this country has ever seen. Our housing plan meets this crisis with the scale and urgency it demands. The first plank of our plan is all about building. Over the next decade, city government will build 200,000 new, affordable, rent-stabilized homes. Second, I am proud to announce that we will preserve and stabilize an additional 200,000 homes. And they will be made possible by a historic $22 billion capital investment over 5 years. The second plank of our housing plan includes some of the strongest and most expansive tenant protections anywhere in the United States of America. And as we empower tenants, we will place a special emphasis.
Now, Brett says that tenant unions are amazing, right? And he tries to flog his like tenant union work. Here is Zohran Mamdani making tenant unions the policy of the city. It's going to make 10,000 apartment buildings so much easier to organize. So even if you are on the grassroots level and you don't believe in electoralism, he's just made your grassroots organizing efforts 10 times easier. That's why we do this. Not because I'm against that work, but because I want it to actually succeed without being grindingly hard in the face of virulent centrist Democrat opposition.
Those in the Bronx. I am proud to announce a legislative task force to overhaul our city's outdated housing maintenance code. We will also improve how 311 logs and investigates complaints. And we will support New Yorkers as they organize with their neighbors. If you form a tenant union, the city will stand with you. Finally, through our new citywide campaign, Fix the City, we will focus on the worst landlords in New York City. When necessary, we will take aggressive legal action to remove negligent owners and property managers. The third core plank of our plan is years overdue. We will deliver the transformative investments that public
NYCHA means New York City Housing Authority. It's like public housing development.
Housing has long needed, but not received. City Hall will rewrite a legacy of neglect with the largest city capital commitment to NYCHA in decades. $5.6 billion over 5 years. We will prove that government can deliver on the solutions to the toughest problems, not just debate them. Block by block.
And like, I'm sorry, guys. In the moment of decision, if Zoran doesn't start understanding who his ideological enemies are and that there's no handshaking or nice words about them that will ever change that, I really worry for his mayorship. I said he's accepting knee bends with no concession on policy. Elections are about getting the 50% one plus one, and he's doing that. He'll be targeting his enemies in elections where they're vulnerable. You can't fight in every direction at once, which is exactly what's happening. Zoran is now endorsing multiple primaries of sitting Democrats. He didn't become cozy. He's supporting Claire Valdez. He's supporting Dara Lisa. He's out there fighting for legislative wins. And he's pushing the party to the left. People that are even to his left, just like Bernie pushed him and Zoran was to his left, Zoran is pushing people to his left. I am just asking all of you to think about politics in an actually serious way. I want you to look at politics and think, politics is about policies. And in order to have the policies, we have to win. I think a lot of people they think we won because AOC got elected. AOC is one of 435. To win, We need 200 and I think 16, not one. We need the presidency. We need 50 senators plus the vice president. Some of them are going to be elected DSA members. Some of them are going to be progressives that are scared about getting primaried. And some of them are going to be Democratic Party machine people that we need to crack skulls over and scare. I'm new here from Iran. What is your stance on the Iran war? This is my stance. It's the stance that Graham Platter had the very first day. No war with Iran. When he was in the midst of a primary, he was the first candidate for Senate in the entire country to come out and say no war with Iran. But if they do go to war, Graham will join to fight. LOL. No. Well, first of all, I mean, I'm sorry. I think that if a senator votes for a war, they should be on the front lines. I think if you support a war, your ass should be drafted. I think that anytime America goes into a war, there should be a national referendum. And if you vote yes, you're put into a draft lottery. And we should draft everybody who votes yes. And we should, even before volunteering, like that's the same thing as volunteering. And here's the thing. If the war was actually an attack on America, like if America was under attack from an enemy that was threatening our country, we would all volunteer to defend that. There was actually a threat to our physical bodies from a real enemy. We would all join up. That's what happens. There is volunteers for that kind of war. Graham will take a principled stand against the war and realist of another chance to murder brown people. We literally, again, psyoped, dumb piece of shit. You've been psyopted to supporting Zionism, and you don't even know why. I already showed, like, God, it's so amazing. Like, they actually fell for it.
President of the National Organization for Women, PAC, to talk more about the Maine primary and Graham Plattner's campaign. We go now to Peaks Island off of Portland, Maine, where we're joined by the longtime anti-racism organizer, Shay Stewart-Boulay, the executive director of Community Change, Inc. Shay, thanks so much for being with us. A lot has come out on Graham Plattner, from the tattoo that he has emblazoned on his chest to the most recent New York Times expose on some of the women he was romantically involved with, questioning his behavior. Can you talk about your thoughts as Graham Plattner just had a major rally in Portland?
I can. Good morning, and thank you, Amy, for having me. I have so many thoughts. As someone who has been following the Plattner campaign really since that first day when that first video was released, and was very cautiously enthusiastic perhaps about him, who then after the initial revelations in October of the Reddit post and the tattoo became quite skeptical. It was after then that I actually met up with Graham and we had a conversation, and over the course of the probably last several months we've had a series of conversations and observations. And I think what's interesting about this race and about Graham is that in Maine, I would say a lot of people have a very different perspective of him than what the national media is showing. I think that despite his controversies, he is really speaking to the people of Maine at this moment. As I've been writing, and I wrote...
All right, Johnny TubeSuck says, enjoy Fetterman 2.0. Show me that you don't know anything. You don't know anything about anything. You think John Fetterman was running to the left? He did Graham Platter has done literally the opposite, and then he didn't have a brain aneurysm that destroyed his fucking brain. Like, I actually think what makes you, and here's the thing, Johnny Tube Socks. Like, here's what I want you to understand. You are a Zionist in every way that matters. You're a Zionist. You are a Zionist. And I say that because you're on the same side as the Zionists. In the battle, there's a battle going on over Graham Plattner. Graham Plattner says he's against Israel and he'll withhold funding for Israel. There are two people that want to destroy Graham Plattner: grifters and Zionists. You are effectively on their side. A good analogy of this would be World War II. Let's imagine the British and the Americans are invading Normandy beaches. You could say the British and the Americans are imperialist, capitalist states. But if you join the line with the Nazis and start shooting the soldiers that are on the beach, you're a fucking Nazi. Even if you're saying the reason you're shooting at the soldiers is because they're really, what's the difference between Britain and Germany, really? You are effectively aiding and abetting the Nazi. You are effectively aiding and abetting Israel. That's the reality. You're on their side. That's the truth. Just like when Finland fought the Red Army, they were on the Nazi side. Even though maybe they had some argument about how their defense was actually noble. They were on the Nazi side. At the end of the day, you were firing bullets at the enemies of Zionism. That's you. You're a fucking Zionist, effectively. And the people that love this more than anything are Israelis. That's why every AIPAC shill is melting down over Plattner. Do you think it's because they think he's John Fetterman? They're spending hundreds of millions of dollars and every single ounce of pressure and power they have to go after it because he's actually secretly pro-Israel. Like you're brain dead. You are actually a useful idiot for Zionism. And you're part of the reason why Israel's been able to succeed, because you're a self-marginalizing idiot. But ultimately, you're immaterial. Like, you actually don't matter. Just like the anti-Zoran lefties didn't matter, you don't matter. You're immaterial. You have no orgs. You have no motion. You don't fucking matter, other than maybe mildly annoying me. Yeah, but it's still useful to have these breaks in discussion to prevent consensus breaks. No, this is a very important thing that I'm doing. I'm disciplining you guys. I'm giving you lines. I need you guys to be smart. If I just let these dumbass pieces of shit run their counter messaging ops, it'll damage the left. I need you guys to be on side and fucking smart and effective. And I don't give a shit who hates me. And by the way, I'm endorsed by Hasan for a reason. Like, you know, like there's a reason why he says Mike is right, Mike is based. He reads my messages every day because he endorses what I'm doing. It's just the reality.
Recently, it is estimated that 1 in 2 Mainers are struggling to make ends meet. Nationally, I think people think of Maine as this, you know, it's nicknamed vacation land. So people think that everybody...
How was Finland siding with the Nazis during the Winter War? They were shooting against the Soviet Union. And then they maintained their alliance with the Soviet Union throughout World War II. Their alliance with Nazi Germany against the Soviet Union throughout World War II. They were on the side of the Nazis. The reason why Finland had the territory that was at dispute over the Winter War is because they had fought against the Russian Revolution.
Everybody here is probably quite prosperous, and actually that's...
So when the Polish were defending against the Soviet attack from the east in 1939, they were on the Nazi side too? Yes. Of course they were. The Soviet Union had offered an alliance against the Poles, with the Poles against and it was a fascist right-wing government. It was a fascist right-wing government. That's why the French and the British didn't align with the Soviet Union. And it was the places where the Soviet Union held that were protected against Nazi depredations because they, you know, lost the war. Polish Twitter is going to explode hearing that. Poland was liberated by the Red Army. Too fucking bad. Didn't they offer an agreement to Poland something like 43 times? Yes! And it wasn't like Poland was a democracy or something. It was literally ruled by a far-right dictatorship in that was established in 1926 after a military coup d'etat. like what are we pretending here? That like what are you saying? Again, nobody knows any history, which they make my problem. Like it's my problem. Like, goddamn. Here, I'll show you some history. The Second Polish Republic, officially known at the time as the Republic of Poland, was the Polish state that existed between 7 October 1918, 6 October 1939, after being established on the final stage of World War II. Second Republic was taken over in 1939 on the eve of its 21st anniversary, after it was invaded by Nazi Germany, the Soviet Union, and the Slovak Republic. Marking the beginning of the European theater of the Second World War, the Polish government in exile was established in Paris and later London after the fall of France. After the Polish-Soviet War, Marshal Pilsudski led an intentionally modest life, writing historical books for a living. After he took power through a military coup in 1926, he emphasized that he wanted to heal Polish society and the politics of excessive partisan politics. The following 3 parliamentary elections were manipulated, with opposition activists sent to Katruska prison. As a result, the pro-government party Camp of National Unity won huge majorities. Pilsudski died just after an authoritarian constitution was approved in the spring of 1935. The government that ruled the Second Polish Republic in its final years is frequently just referred to as Pilsudski's colonels. Like, no, Mike, this was actually this was this was a good military dictatorship of right-wing military dictatorship. Like there's this like liberal myth making that the idea is the Soviet Union was almost as bad as Nazi Germany. So all the decisions the liberals made to oppose the Soviet Union and ultimately led to Hitler's rise was actually justifiable. And they'd use ahistorical shit to try to justify it. And it's like, no. And yeah, I don't like the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact. I think it was a fucking terrible deal. But I also hate the Munich Convention, which happened before it. I hate the fact that this, Britain and France didn't help fight against the fascist interventions in the Spanish Civil War. I'm mad that they fought a phony war after Poland got invaded and didn't attack Germany from the West and just sat on their asses, sat on their hands, doing nothing. I hate the fact that they refused to ally with the Soviet Union in an anti-fascist pact. That really sucks. And ultimately, I think Molotov-Ribbentrop was a fucking blunder. But you could understand why that was made as a pragmatic decision, while the West was literally caving and appeasing Hitler every step of the way. The West was hoping Hitler would invade the Soviet Union, so they appeased him. Exactly. Even as Britain was being defeated in the Battle of France, Neville Chamberlain was like going, well, maybe they'll fight the Soviet Union and they'll leave our empire alone. They were literally they were going to sign a fucking treaty with Italy where, England's empire would be left alone overseas and, Hitler would gain domination over Europe. That was literally what they were doing, even as France was falling. Like, you guys don't know anything about fucking history at all. And thankfully, Churchill was able to seize power with the cooperation of the left, and they formed a unity government that was focused on defeating Hitler. But the liberals, up until the point of Churchill taking over fucking Britain, were literally still trying to capitulate and appease Hitler as France was falling. And of course, the liberals in the French government, Marshal Pétain, literally did Vichy because, they literally did it. So, like, what are we even saying? Like, come on, man. Come on. I'm sure you haven't heard of Catan and other Soviet crimes against Poland. Yes, those are terrible, and I disagree with that, and I think those are horrible. I'm not blaming that. I'm not saying that shit is good. The Soviet Union committed all sorts of crimes. Absolutely. But it's like the Polish collaborators were extremely common. And it is one of those things where I don't blame the Polish nation for the collaborationist mistakes. But when the Red Army is the state that actually defeated Hitler and ended the Holocaust, I think trying to equivocate that with Hitler is fucking insane. And it's Holocaust denial. And it's something that a lot of right-wing Eastern Europeans are very commonly doing these days. And it's, the double Holocaust theory is pretty odd. And the reason why this stuff is popular is it's because it's an attempt to try to downplay the importance of the Soviet Union in defeating Hitler. They're trying to downplay that. They're trying to be like, well, it didn't really matter. The Soviets were bad too. The Soviets didn't do Katyn. They were pack sardine style, just like the SS, and all the casings found on the site were German. Oh, is that true? Listen, we all got the same liberal education.
The opposite. It's a rural state. It's a state that doesn't have a lot of resources. It's a state where, honestly, it is not uncommon for people to work 2 or 3 jobs, seasonal jobs. And so I think that, one of the reasons people have continued to support Plattner despite these controversies is because for the first time in a long time, he makes people feel heard. I only recently heard him speak to an audience. Because my interactions with him had been primarily one-on-one, I had heard about how when he speaks to a crowd, but I have to say it was really interesting to experience hearing him and seeing, more importantly, the audience, how enthusiastic they were. At the same time, I live on Peaks Island, Maine. It's a predominantly very white little enclave island here. We have a few folks of color, and it's a community that people would probably think of as fairly prosperous, and yet he was really connecting with them. I think as a person, he is absolutely complicated and messy. There is no getting around that. He's a very complicated, messy individual who I think if these were more normal times, I think the campaign would have tanked probably several scandals ago. But I think that given the current reality of the country we're running in with the folks running in it, people are feeling a little bit more generous in forgiving his personal situations.
Let's hear Graham Plattner speaking last night in Portland.
We need to return to the politics of dreaming big. Because the challenges we face today, we can no longer afford to play around in the margins. We've been doing that, and it has failed us. We need universal health care in this country, Medicare for all.
Like, one of the things about all politics, and like when we have discussions of history, like when we talk about World War II, there's a lot of things that Beria and Stalin did that I think were counterproductive and bad, right? And the United States did all sorts of evil shit that were counterproductive and bad. And I'm saying that because it's important to have ability to have a nuanced view, right? You could say that the oppressions the NKVD did against the Polish, nation was counterproductive, evil, and a war crime. You could say the same type of behavior that America did to its Japanese population were counterproductive and a war crime. But you wouldn't say that the United States did not defeat Japanese imperial aggression. You wouldn't say that the Soviet Union did not defeat fascism and Nazism. You wouldn't equivocate the two sides, even though there are no innocent sides in war. You would say that these crimes are condemnable, they were counterproductive, they were wrong, they should be punished, they should be looked back in history as a problem. But the idea of trying to say that the Soviet Union and Nazi Germany are equivalent because of the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact, then what do you say about the Munich Convention? Does that mean that Western allies are the same as Hitler? If you're not saying that, then you're doing some sort of political project in the here and now. An attempt to try to discredit current leftist movements by torturing history. And it's fucking weird. And so here we are today, we're talking about Graham Plattner. And the question is, does Graham Plattner, the fact that he served in the American imperial military, does that mean that we on the left should throw him in the dumpster for a guaranteed Zionist, a guaranteed American exceptionalist, a guaranteed Zionist? And if the answer you have is yes, then you're not a serious person. You're not attempting to, you're really not trying to defeat Israel. That is my lodestone. My lodestone is defeating Israel. How do I defeat Israel? To defeat Israel, you must first understand Israel. How does Israel function? Where does it get its money? Where does it get its weapons? Where does it get its support? All right, now that we've figured those things out, how do we cut them off? How do we end its diplomatic support? How do we end its military support? How do we end its economic support? What groups do we need to isolate? Do we need to cut off? Do we need to block? You have to think strategically against Israel. What can we do to defeat Israel? Well, stop funding it from the United States of America. Stop making their weapons. Stop giving them military support. That means active military logistics. That means sea lift. That means airlift. That means mid-air refueling. That means targeting selection using our satellites. Stop sharing intelligence with them. Stop defending them at the United Nations. Stop targeting ICC prosecutors. Stop allowing American money and weapons to flow to Israel. All of those things are affected by who's in the United States Senate. And so Graham Plattner saying, I won't give any money to Israel, that is a major blow to Israel. That is a major, major threat to Israel's existence. If you don't recognize that, if you don't understand that, then you're not playing the same game as the Zionists are. That's why they're playing so dirty. That's why they're trying so hard, because they can see that the sentiment of the American people have turned against Israel, but they still capture the political class. Graham Plattner is that moment. Graham Plattner is the severing of the American political class from Israel. That is the front. That is the main political threat to Israel. It is not online posting. It is not putting a red triangle in your avatar on Twitter. It's not smug videos that get 1,000 likes on TikTok. It is the funding being stripped. It is the diplomatic cover being withdrawn. It is the ICC prosecutors being able to have bank accounts again. It is all of the support networks of Israel being severed and letting the edifice fall from the natural contradictions that are at play. And if you're not on board with that, then you don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
We need universal child care. We need a public education system that provides high-quality education to every young American from kindergarten all the way through higher ed and trade schools. And we need a foreign policy that prioritizes international institutions and international law over the well-being of corporate interests.
So that's Graham Plattner speaking last night in Portland. If you can talk about the allegations of several women who he dated, one of them being...
Oh, my God. Okay, wow. The Katan story is literally a Nazi propaganda thing. Even though the events probably took place, the reason why this story is brought up is because Joseph Goebbels saw the discovery as a way of driving a wedge between Poland, the Allies, and the Soviet Union. It's literally a Nazi propaganda story that started, like, the whole reason why it was brought up and continually flogged was as a Nazi propaganda story. Bro, come on, man. Come on, man.
A Republican operative. I mean, she says it herself. She runs Ladies for Kavanaugh, now the Supreme Court justice. The significance of this and what the allegations are. And those who say it's not enough to say he suffers from PTSD. Certainly, Ro Khanna talked about the damages of war, and Plattner himself talks about what it means that war is violence and how veterans have suffered, but that you have to take responsibility for how you act afterward.
Yes, yes, you do. Like many folks, I read the piece in the New York Times a few minutes after it dropped, and I will say I really struggled initially with what I was reading. I think for me, I believe in restorative justice. The nature of the work that I do just within the world of anti-racism work allows for restorative justice. And so life is not an either or, it's more of a both and really asking for myself, do I believe that people even deserve a second chance? First and foremost, these are serious allegations. I don't think there's no excuse for the harm that he caused these women. I think that...
Okay, by the way, listen, like, I agree with her completely, but what harm are we talking about here? We have a single right-wing activist who has no fucking credibility, and we have other women saying that he was volatile. Like, showing up at someone's house drunk, huge no-no. If I found out that you were a friend of mine and you did something like that, I would put you in fucking rehab, okay? You know, or I would cut contacts, you know? That was really bad. But there was no actual... She didn't accuse him of doing anything other than showing up and being... and making her feel uncomfortable. And then they broke up. You know, like, come on. Come the fuck on. Let's not equate that with, you know, Cuomo, who literally sexually assaulted and harassed staff members. Like, we're flattening, like, all misconduct into the category of misconduct. That's ridiculous.
Say one thing, I would love to hear him speak more about ways in which he can make amends to the women he's harmed.
It's optional to re-enlist. No, there's something called stop loss. Why do people talk about things they don't know what the fuck they're saying? Why do people say that, oh yeah, it's always voluntary? No, it's not.
He needs to be held accountable to those women. At the same time, we find ourselves in this very, very awkward situation in the state of Maine and really in the state of the country. 18 months into this second term of Trump, we have watched our country turn upside down in ways that we have never imagined. And so we find ourselves with, in the case of the Maine Senate race, we have a candidate who most certainly inspires people. I know when I went to his public event here on Peaks, I saw young folks of color who had taken the ferry over just to hear him speak. We also, and I'm sorry, I just completely lost my thought there. I think that we have to reckon with the reality of war and violence. I was thinking about this morning, knowing that, you know, this would probably be a part of the conversation. In some ways, I see Plattner as sort of the result of this country, that we send people to war, they come back, and then we don't do a lot for those people. But more than that, when we talk about violence, in this case, there's personal violence, but then we also have state violence. We have someone who went to war, suffering from the effects of state violence, who has now inflicted violence upon folks personally. And so it really becomes a very messy situation in terms of how do we reckon with that. How do we figure out how to go forward? I think in this moment, what's hardest for people to gather and to understand, and it was certainly is something that I've struggled with given everything that we've seen going on in this country, is the fact that historically we've expected our politicians, we've held them to a certain standard. We've expected certain behavior. And I would say, you know, in the years since Trump, all of that has been turned upside down. I think over on the left, we've held ourselves to a standard that we don't want to be anything like those folks. And so here we have this person who is a messy, walking contradiction. On the one hand, he has values in terms of what he's putting out there that speaks to us, but his personal life is messy. So it's one of those, what do we do? And in this moment, I ask myself, do we discard him? I know your previous guest spoke a lot to his opponent, Janet Mills, who suspended her campaign and is now.
By the way, I mean, this is like, I understand that. Like, here's the thing. I'm not going to try to like go after someone viciously for being like, hey, I want to sit with this. Like, I think that's counterproductive, right? Like, I think you're allowed to say, like, I think people, it's perfectly normal, especially for women, to be like, hey, you know, we live in a society where women's voices are not listened to, right? If you're trying to reach them, I don't think the best way to do that is be like, no, this is, you're stupid, blah, 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 blah. It is to say, hey, listen, I understand what you're saying. And he's obviously like, it's okay for you to like take a minute here, but let's also kind of understand that what we're dealing with here is obviously a very low credibility assertion. And it's okay for us to have distinguishment between real, truly credible attacks and something that has very low credibility, right? Like, we're able to have that kind of distinguishment, especially when the people that are doing it are Zionist operatives, right? We're okay with having that distinguishment. It's not a way of disregarding women's feelings. Like, I don't want women to think that we don't care about women being victimized, but there really isn't anything credible here.
You know, last week reminded us all that she is still on the ballot. And I know as a Mainer,
Mike, the word is distinguish. Sorry. I think you could also say distinguishment. Like, I think you can. I think it's actually, I think that's actually.
I don't see her track record as being quite as rosy as somebody on a national level might. Just a couple of things I wanted to mention. Just recently, she vetoed LD 1911 this year, which was the clean slate law, which.
I mean, it is a word. You can't do it.
Really would have given folks with a criminal background in certain cases a second chance. There was also the other veto that she did, LD 307, which would have placed a moratorium on state and local governments issuing permits for data centers. As we know, the conversation of data centers is really big across the country. Those two vetoes alone for many, many Maine voters really were a turnoff. So, again, the national perspective on Janet Mills versus the reality on the ground are two different things. And I think for many people, Maine voters, that's left people really conflicted. I mean, we do have two other candidates, a write-in candidate who, of course, isn't on the ballot but has been campaigning really hard. And then we have one other gentleman on the ballot, David Costello, who many people just don't know who he is. So Mainers find themselves in a really tough situation in terms of this is a person who is saying the things that we want to hear. And at the same time, we're hearing these allegations in their personal life that are pretty disturbing. I can say that when it came down to my deciding whether or not I wanted to support him, I knew if there were any criminal allegations, that was not something I was going to do. I'm still not comfortable with what I've heard. At the same time, it feels like, while we can say, is it an excuse, the PTSD from the war, it is also a reality that many people returning from war do face.
Thanks for watching Democracy Now! On YouTube. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to make sure you never miss a video. And
I honestly think, by the way, chat, I honestly think, like, again, remember how I talked to you earlier about falling for psyops? The thing that you should not do is try to debate the conduct as not being bad or not being that bad, or people that are like concerned as stupid or anything. Like, that's falling for the op. The main thing whenever you're dealing with a smear is you attack the credibility of the smear merchant, and that's what you focus on. You don't get, in the quagmire of the weeds of the smear, right? That's how you actually lose, right? When a smear comes out, You ignore the smear. You set the smear aside. The details of the smear are irrelevant. The credibility is nil. That's what you talk about. And that's a tip for everybody going forward. It's like when somebody says, like, I'll give you an example. Hasan Piker went to a brothel with underage, blah, 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 blah. If you try to go into the weeds of the shit, you're actually falling for their move. The thing that you need to do is get off that. Get off the dumb smear. It's bullshit. Say, they're lying. This is obviously bullshit. And so this is who's saying it. And then you talk about how they have zero credibility. You dismiss the thing as having no credibility, being made up, being a lie. You do that very quickly. You don't get into the weeds and try to debate every point. And then you go after the person attacking, spreading the smear as having no credibility and not to be believed. Because the more you try to debate like the details, the more you're talking about the smear. Learn how to do this shit. You deflect away from the fucking smear. By repeating the smear, you're giving the smear more motion and more oxygen. It doesn't have any credibility. That's why the Kaya Gate defense didn't work, as dumb as it was, because we didn't use your tactics. Yeah, go after obviously, here, you do need to, like, deny the thing and have a, like, cohesive point, which is, like, no credibility, she's a Zionist, no corroboration. And then you go into why she is politically motivated. Right? Like, this is just how you deal with this shit. This is politics 101. Every single person who's on the left will be smeared. Everything they've ever done will be investigated. Every tweet, every post, every argument they've ever made, every political evolution, every mistake, every bad joke, every time they felt uncomfortable or made somebody else feel uncomfortable will be put under a fucking microscope. You need to be better at dealing with this reality. All right. I wanted to show you guys this while I go pee.
A New York Israeli pride parade with literally an avowed fascist.
Unreal. Chuck Schumer was there, and he just said,
of course he was,
how important it is for us to remember that Jews in the United States need Israel because they live in constant anxiety that the Holocaust could happen again in the United States. We got to do genocide and ethnic cleansing for Chuck Schumer's mental health.
It is.
Just James was there.
It is.
Yeah,
so
unfortunate.
Insane idea that Israel provides any type of security for Jews around the world is one of the most insane, blinkered, Orwellian concepts it is. The fact of the matter is that it has made Jews less safe, demonstrably so. Demonstrably so. Largest attack on Jews since the Holocaust not happened in America. It happened in Israel. If they're so safe, why do they need to kill tens of thousands of children? Jews in this country don't need to do that. It's just insane. The idea that there isn't something clinically wrong with these people is very hard to believe. People are complaining because Zohran Mamdani didn't march a New York Israeli pride parade with literally an avowed fascist.
Unreal. Chuck Schumer was there, and he just said,
of course he was,
how important it is for us to remember that Jews in the United States need Israel because they live in constant anxiety that the Holocaust could happen again in the United States. We got to do genocide and ethnic cleansing for Chuck Schumer's mental health.
It is.
Just James was there.
It is.
Yeah,
so
unfortunate.
Anyway, chat, let me say something that you need to know. This is a very important point. It's almost 4 hours and I forgot to shill. Did you know that you could subscribe at tier 1, tier 2, or tier 3 sub? And if you have Amazon Prime, you can attach that to your Twitch account. That's one free sub a month. That's your Twitch Prime sub. It's like taking $2.50 from Jeff Bezos' pocket and putting it into mine. Think about how frustrated Jeff Bezos would be to know that his money is being used to subsidize this channel. All the money he's pouring into the Washington Post. And I got to tell you, my stream, Hasan's stream, and the various lefty political streamers on Twitch probably have more to do with the discourse than the Washington Post opinion page. So every time you subscribe to this channel, you are frustrating the efforts of multiple billionaires. Lockheed Martin Luther, thank you for the 5 gifted subs. And Blind Amy Parade, thank you for the Prime Blind Army Parade. Adrock 64, thank you for the 5. Gak, thanks for the resub. Oh, speaking of that, chat. Okay, I've gotta go Big Mike here. I noticed that a lot of you guys have been watching my YouTube and then forgetting to subscribe. Subscribe right now to the Mike from PA YouTube channel. You'll get a lot of daily content updates from a leftist perspective that is also dark woke. So fucking subscribe right now. Show some goddamn loyalty. Also, here's the other one. Click the fucking bell. Turn on the bell notifications at the stream. I just posted a very funny video breaking down. If you go to my channel right now, I just posted a video breaking down Ethan Klein's Ultimate L. Hit the notification button. Subscribe. Hit the bell. He really thought he would win. XW. Okay, let's keep going. Holy shit. Thank you, Socialism or Barbarism. Thank you, Hammond Fist, for the 20 guys, gals. We're only 103 subs away from 6,000. Let's maintain the 6,000 number. Too much noticing Senpai. Notice us less. Subscribe. I am not a Ro Khanna believer for president. Okay, I'm not a Ro Khanna believer. These losers only have one. We need an update on this tweet. Hassan Piker's reaction when Nithya Raman was projected to come in third. LMAO. She didn't. First of all, she was never predicted to come in third. That's not even true. All right, chat. Anna Therion, thank you for the tier 2. Tech Art Hunter, thank you for the subscriptions, guys, gals, non-binary pals. I really appreciate you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, we're 97 subs away, chat. 97 subs away. Sean Fain calls out state feds, CLCs, and other unions for not backing labor candidates at the AFL-CIO conventions. Mentioned Claire Valdez, among others, by name. Claire is so cool. The left candidate has taken the lead? Yes! Okay, but did the foreign vote get counted? Did the overseas vote get counted? Because this is what I was worried about. I figured there's going to be 1 million fascists mailing from Miami. Mike, I missed your Denims coverage. Is there a way to go back and watch it? If you're subscribed, you get access to the VODs, as well as you can subscribe to my YouTube, where the best content will be available every day. Nice. We got 200 subscribers yesterday. Let's fucking go. He really thought he would win. All right. Oh, another thing, chat. The newest episode of the Reaction Podcast has just dropped. Alex Jones. Make sure you guys go check it out. It is a fucking banger episode. Make sure you go check it out. The newest episode of the Reaction Podcast. You get a 30-minute preview, and but it's I think it is a premium episode, but still go check it out. Go check it out. Check it out. I listened yesterday. It's a banger. See? Make sure you subscribe to the Patreon. I plan on having a Denims episode on Ethan Klein. I really want to do that. If Denims wants to, I would love to do a Denims episode on Ethan Klein, but she's still like in litigation, so that might get delayed. But please do subscribe, because it's going to be the ultimate banger. Thank you for the gift. That was very kind of you. What the fuck? You're an amazing chatter. Make sure you have the notifications turned on. What's the difference between Patreon and a normal episode? The Patreon is a premium episode, which is not available for free, whereas the normal episodes, we do like one free episode, one premium, one free, one premium, one free, one premium, because we're trying to build it up to be a financially viable production for the editor, right? Like, I show up, we record the podcast, the editor makes the edit, so for them to have like a nice solid income, we need everybody to join the Patreon. I had your YouTube video on Chinese renewables on the car yesterday. I got my fiance thinking more about green energy and government dynamics. Thanks, Mike. Thank you for listening. Frogan might be a better candidate for that. True. I think they're both great, actually. I don't think the thing with Denims. Here's the thing with Denims. Listen, I don't want to speak about private conversations, but I think that the way Denims has approached this legally is very sound. Okay. Did you see the Lib Israeli chatting at Hassan's stream? Yeah, he was here and I banned him because he was boring. Just got here, heard good things about you, didn't realize you were a streamer. Not only am I a streamer, I'm one of the biggest streamers in the world. Mike, WNYC held a primary forum on it tried to rat fuck Claire. What the fuck? Yeah, actually I would. Oh, Gramsci's home, girl. Chat, we are a mere 47 subs away now. A mere 47 subs away from hitting 6,000 again. Also, I really recommend Gramsci. Gramscian thought is actually the key to understanding what the way we are, like what the right thing to do is right now. I need everybody to understand that. Gramscian thought is the way. We need to fight what's known as a war of position. It's refreshing to see people hating endless conflict in the Middle East. That is all literally the result of American, French, and British imperialism dividing the Arab world so that we could steal their resources. Because if the Arab world was united and allowed to develop on their own, it would be a world superpower on par with Europe. So they know, like, they have to keep Arabs divided and suppressed by these fucking, you know, fascist monarchies, military dictatorships, and theocracies, because if the Arab world was under one umbrella and allowed to develop naturally, it would be an incredibly powerful bloc. And it could challenge the United States. It could challenge Europe. So they don't want that to happen. So they're dividing and conquering. It's not that complicated. Do you see what happened with China? China unified. They took their boot off the neck of China, and now China is challenging the world superpower. Literally 2 generations later. 40 years of not trying to suppress China, and it went from one of the poorest countries in the world with 80% of people in extreme poverty to 0% of the people in extreme poverty in 40 years. Because China was allowed to engage with the rest of the world again. Look what happened to Vietnam. Same story. I love Mamdani. He's so great. City-run gender-affirming care clinic for trans patients coming to New York City. Of course. Of course. This is why we seize power. This is why we seize power. Do you know what it would look like if AOC won? If we had 50 Mamdanis in the Senate, 250 AOCs in the House? Do you understand what it would look like, how different the world would be? The people that tell you that it wouldn't be any different are stupid. And yes, there would be contradictions. And yes, there would be capital strikes. Yes, there would be a raising of consciousness, and there would be conflict. And there would have to be some sort of, there would be the increased risk of rupture. That's what I want. We're not going to get revolution by being suppressed. All right. What's oil looking like today? Are we dipping? Okay, oil's up today because of the Iran-Israel shit. Holy fuck. All right. Where was I at? Oh, I wanted to talk about Claire. And Brad Lander got asked about Israel, so I wanted to show you this, guys. Try to contain your excitement. Brad Lander is talking.
I will not vote for any additional U.S. military aid to Israel, offensive or defensive.
Why not defensive?
While it is violating international law and Palestinian human rights. It's part of why I'm running. My opponent, Dan Goldman, has voted for every standalone aid package to Netanyahu, all of the 2,000-pound bombs that destroyed the schools and hospitals in Gaza. Even Rahm Emanuel thinks that Israel could pay for Iron Dome. Iron Dome is important for protecting Israeli civilians, but Israel can pay for it on its own. Even Rahm Emanuel thinks that, and I don't think New York 10 should have a congressman to the right of Rahm Emanuel. I will not vote for any additional...
Critical support for Brad Lander. He's better than the alternative. Anyway, Claire had a canvassing operation, chat. They knocked 20,000 doors this weekend. God damn! That's a lot of doors. And it was led by a little-known socialist organizer, Zoran Mamdani, who, by the way, is going all in for Claire, who was on my stream and is our friend. How are you always getting crazy high-level hype trains? I don't even see Hasan consistently get over level 10 hype trains. Well, Hasan is on extremely high difficulty. The way that Twitch works is there is like different levels of hype train for different size communities, and like he's like on extremely high difficulty, whereas I'm on high difficulty. So for him to like get level 10, it's like 2 times as many subs than I do. That's number one. Number two is I shill and try to make it fun because I'm not as rich as Hasan. Hasan is like rich streamer. I'm upper middle class streamer, if that makes sense. So for me, level 10 is like, you know, 100 subs. For him, level 10 is like 500 subs or some shit. Hasan had 2 level 23s. A Hasan level 23 is probably like 15 grand or something. God damn. Or even more. Oh, and here we go. Here she is, leading a canvas for Zoran. Our Lisa.
Make buses Boston. Free!
Delivered universal. We're gonna freeze.
Like, this is such an obvious, like, multiracial working class coalition. They fucking hate to see it. Like, the fascists fucking hate it. The centrist liberals fucking hate it. They don't want to see fusionist politics. They don't want to see working class people of all, you know, backgrounds coming together. They hate this shit. That's why they spend so much effort trying to denigrate it. Here is the full forum. Oh.
Your SoCal Honda dealers are proud to support our community. Recently, we...
Okay. Maybe send me some highlights. As much as I want to hear about the Honda dealers, they just did a new ad. Just dropped.
For a city
you can afford.
Vote Claire Valdez.
There you go. I canvassed with Darlisa last year and she was awesome. Oh yeah. Did you see last New York City 7 debate where Reynosa agreed with Claire about AOC being his inspirational politician? I think AOC is going to be cowardly on this, personally.
I'm Claire Valdez, and I approve this message because this campaign is about you, not me.
But can I talk about you? A lot of politicians say the right thing. Assemblymember Claire Valdez does the right thing, even when it's hard. Claire was there, by my side.
Fighting to stop taxpayer dollars from funding genocide.
Claire is the progressive we can trust.
To abolish ICE, tax the rich, make housing affordable, and take on bad landlords.
For a city
you can afford.
Vote Claire Valdez.
I really, really, really like Claire. Claire is just like legitimately
fighting to stop
the type of person who doesn't get enough support. I think it's unironically a little bit misogynist not to support Claire. I'm a big fan. I like her a lot. She's very cool. Can we see the debate? Well, do you have any clips? I don't want to listen to a audio only thing. Is it possible that someone can Mamdani their way from 1% of the presidency, or do we have to pick someone with name recognition a la AOC? The answer to that is there's no reason to try to get somebody else. Like, AOC is already such a powerfully strong case, like, politician, that trying to, like, go around her is just weird. It would be a weird decision. What position is she running for? President of the... Oh, Claire is running for Congress. Sorry about that.
There was one elected official on the day that I launched my campaign for mayor. There was one. And it wasn't because she'd seen some secret polling, because that did not exist. And that elected official was Claire Valdez. And we need to have a leader who doesn't put their finger...
I don't quite understand AOC's current posture. It seems like she's kind of unsure of whether she wants to be a presidential candidate or just a congressperson, because it is over 2 years away from the election and people don't announce this early. It's considered to be cringe. We need to be focusing on the midterm to stop Trump. We need to take power away for the Republicans. She's doing everything that would indicate she's running a national campaign. She's running for something in 2028. Some people want her to run for Senate because they're scared of her winning the whole damn thing. They're trying to shunt her off to the side and let the establishment Democrats win in a walk in a period when the establishment is hated. I think she should go for gold, because why the fuck not? There's nobody else that's even close. Give it like 3 weeks after the midterm, you know? And we'll see. She's just not out in public as often as others gearing up to run. Yes, she is. She's doing the oligarchy tour with Bernie Sanders. What the fuck are you saying? What? She's not out in front supporting Dem challengers.
Democrats like Rep. Rabb if you want our nation to change.
Right now, there are a lot of people closest to the pain who are afraid. And to the billionaire class, and the Epstein class, we're coming for you. This is our time. This is our city. Freedom is a place we make together.
Chris Rabb for Congress. Chris Rabb for Congress.
You gotta elect Democrats like Rep. Rabb if you want.
Puerto Rico
no se vende.
No se vende.
Puerto Rico no se vende.
Puerto Rico no se vende.
Hello, everyone. This is Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and I am here live.
I think the main thing with AOC that a lot of people don't understand is if I were her advisor, I'd tell her to be putting the gas down more. You know what I mean? Like, I would be telling her to break the speed limit. You know, if I were in her ear telling her what to do, I'd be saying, do more, throw your elbows around even more, be even louder, endorse more. I think she's missing some obvious things. Like, that's what I would tell her to do. But the idea that she's not doing anything is just wrong, right? She has the ability to do more, but she's being cautious. I think she's being excessively cautious, right? But there's very clearly a coordination between Bernie Sanders, Zohran Mamdani, and AOC on left-wing politicians. I haven't seen them ever endorse against each other. They're obviously coordinating, and in places where they think they'll help, they'll do better, or to try to avoid some complications, they seem to be like, Zohran is endorsing over here, when AOC endorses over here, and Bernie's endorsing over here. Sometimes they all coalesce around one person, right? Sometimes they don't. But it seems like they haven't gone in each other's way, right? And when they decide not to endorse, like Steyer, like Shoykot, it seems like they have their reasons, right? Now, you know, Shoykot, why, you know, didn't a bunch of people, like, why did she endorse him? Well, he didn't have the support of the local people. And it seems like with AOC, she specifically is very focused on like local support. She doesn't like to drop in without seeing the strong community connection. Not going after incumbents is crazy. She can't honestly think this will appease the establishment when she runs. Yes, I agree with you. I think she should be going after more incumbents, right? I agree with that. Nobody's saying she's not doing anything. Somebody just said she's not doing anything. Somebody just said she's not doing anything, and I was just saying she is doing things. And then I just went and said, if I were advising her, I'd tell her to put the pedal to the metal. But she's driving the speed limit. I think she should go pedal to the metal. Then I talked about how Zohran, Bernie, and AOC are coordinating. They never get in each other's ways. Sometimes one of them will endorse. Like Zohran, AOC, and Bernie are the coveted leftist endorsements, right? Like, we all agree with that, right? Zohran has been sticking to New York City. He's been endorsing up and down New York City. AOC has been endorsing nationally. Bernie Sanders has been endorsing nationally. But they never seem to get in each other's way. They never endorse against each other. Like, for example, Bernie endorsed Abdul in Michigan, but Elizabeth Warren endorsed McMorrow in Michigan. Notice how they had conflict. So, like, there is clearly a, like, left, there's, like, a socialist flank. There's, like, progressives, which sometimes line up with the socialists, but sometimes confront. And then there's, like, other groups. And AOC has been trying to be, you know, it's very clear to me that she's trying to run a national campaign. She's actually endorsed a few people to her right as well, as part of a strategy of building up endorsers who are to her right when she runs for president. Like, the argument against her is going to be she's not electable. So she very clearly, like, nobody's going to outflank her to the left, probably. I mean, Ro Khanna might try, but again, he can't. He's a crypto bro who voted for Israel funding. Like, I don't see him outflanking her. I think Ro Khanna is fucking delusional. If I'm being completely honest with you, I think Ro Khanna is fucking delusional and he has terrible advice. And I don't know what to say. And I don't hate the guy, but he's fucking annoying. You know? Like, Ro Khanna's peak job is like in the House leadership. Him running for president is embarrassing. Ron Klain, who is chief legal advisor at Airbnb, has been using his personal time to advise Ro Khanna as he prepares for a possible 2028 presidential bid. Bro. Like, I'm not even mad. I'm just like, bro, this is delusional, man. Brother, why? This is fucking delusional, man. Like, there's no fucking way. Like, look at this. This is so silly. Favorability of 2028 hopefuls among Democratic voters. Kamala Harris, 82. AOC, 70. Jon Stewart, 68. Pete Buttigieg, 65. Gavin Newsom, 59. Mark Kelly, 53. James Talrico, 49. J.B. Pritzker, 42. Josh Shapiro, 39. John Ossoff, 39. Ro Khanna, 35. Why do I even have to have debates with people? Why do I even have to have debates with people about this shit? John Ossoff, come on, man. He's not even popular. Why do people on the left bring this guy up? It's crazy. This is like actually my number one disagreement with Hasan. My number one disagreement with Hasan, like legitimately the thing I disagree with him the strongly most is the John Ossoff glazing. Like, it actually sucks. It actually sucks. It's like my number one thing where I'm like, bro, come on. I'm not even mad at him. Like, I get why he's doing it. John Ossoff is a Jewish politician who has spoken out against Israel in a very marginal way. And we want to avoid, you know, accusations of anti-Semitism by offering a possible Jewish candidate. Like, I get it. I get it. I don't want to play that game, though, because I don't want you guys to accidentally think he's good. He fucking sucks. Hassan's tepid support for AOC is the worst. Do I need to say it? All right, I'm going to say it. The best way to understand tepid support of AOC among millennial leftists, like, you could do it by watching this. I will explain.
Look at us. Our generation's been through the ringer. The 90s was the last burst of pure joy before the dawn of the digital age. We saw 9/11, lived through the financial crash, and lived to see another day. We were ridiculed and mocked by older generations for buying avocado toast, but we were made tough. Now, as we enter our 40s, we watch our children grow, still terrified of the economic chaos of the world, but we are durable. We've been tested. We are truly one of the better generations. Epic bacon and all. I'm Gen Z. No, you're definitely not. Well, basically, I am. You know, I have all the same references. iCarly. I grew up with an iPad. When did you get an iPad? In high school. If you remember 9/11, you're not Gen Z. I vaguely remember that something happened. Something did happen. This didn't really affect me. Wait, hold on. You're in your 30s. I'm 29, asshole. Oh. That makes sense. What makes sense? God, you're so cringe. Millennial cringe. You'll find out that being 29 is not so different from being 39. Don't do that. Don't age is just a number, man. Age is just a number. You're an old man. I'm young. I watched K-pop Demon Hunters.
Now, people in type 1 look at AOC and they go, one of us, that's cool. Like, you know, she's got really good politics. Like, obviously I have some disagreements with her, but she's standing on the right side of almost every issue. She's such an improvement over the politics of my youth. The disillusionment with Obama. She is the carrying forward of the movement for Black Lives, of Occupy Wall Street. She is the representation of our generation. Warts and all, cringe and all. And we need to support her critically, but recognizing that she is a significant advancement in American history. And of course, she'll be by far and away the most left-wing candidate for president ever. And then you have a bunch of people that are trying to stay young. And that's where it is. Like, legitimately, I think that the millennials that are like, they are overwhelmingly the type that are like, I'm like kind of almost Gen Z, am I right, fellow kids? And that's where it comes to where it's like, oh, she's kind of cringe. She's kind of cringe on social media, man. I would be considered kind of cringe of me. I'd be simping for her. And that's the divide. I call that the Felix Biederman line. Where when you actually examine what they're saying, it is worried about being cringe on social media. Now, I think if AOC won the, you know, was doing well, they would all come around and they would endorse her and they would support her and they would get over themselves. But right now, that's where it is. The Felix Biederman line, where it's like, I don't want to be cringe on social media or whatever the fuck. Or I would irony post. And it's like, Jesus Christ, it's 2026, man. You're looking right at 40 years old. Like, can we like take ourselves a little bit more seriously? Shapiro and Ossoff win the welcome pack vote. Yeah, these guys understand reality. They understand Andy Bashir, John Ossoff, Josh Shapiro, and Pete Buttigieg are the same fucking guy. They're right. Like, the abundance are actually right. Like, they get it. They understand these guys are enemies of the left. They're correct. They're fucking correct. Why leftists are confused, I will never understand it. I was anti-Andy Bashir from the day one. I've been anti-Josh Shapiro from day one. And I'm anti-John Ossoff too, because they're all enemies. All right, what else was I saying? What other things did I want to talk about today? Oh yeah, it's over.
The big headline in our decision 2026.
We're calling this the HASANABI bump.
Shakeup in the LA mayor's race.
For the first time, Councilmember Nithya Rahman has pulled ahead of Spencer Pratt. NBC4's Brittany Hope is here to break down the latest results and tell us how big or how small the gap is now.
All right, Lynette, it's really not big at all. We are talking about only 3,100 votes separating the candidates. So who will Mayor Karen Bass face in November's runoff election? Right now, it is way too close to call. We should get the next round of ballot results results by 5 o'clock this afternoon. Now we are hearing from both Pratt and Rahman after last night's vote count update. Pratt posted on X he appeared to try and link the swing of 43,000 votes over the past week to one estimate of the homeless population in the city of Los Angeles. And Rahman, in a statement, wrote, "We are encouraged by the latest vote count and remain grateful to the thousands of Angelenos who have powered this." A campaign spokesperson for Mayor Karen Bass, meanwhile, released a statement calling out Nithya Rahman. To be clear, NBC News has not yet called who will be joining Bass in the general election. Back to you.
And ladies and gentlemen, the HASANABI bump. The HASANABI bump is here. How many people said that Hassan cost Nithya the election? Does anybody, can you guys find me all the like tweets? And basically the only people Hassan was not able to save were the rich guys. If she didn't fail the interview, she probably would have won outright. The reason why Nithya failed the interview is the reason why she didn't get the DSA endorsement. I will say this. I like the fact that she ran. Like, do you guys understand that for me, the fact that she said fuck everybody and ran on her own makes me like her.
The fuck out. Blown the fuck out. Blown out. See ya, bitch. Thank God. He did the face? Bro, he gonna fall over?
Take you through this.
Yes, remember he had that bitch on his stream? Yeah, that's what you get. Maybe you shouldn't have been trying to... You know, Hassan really should be blaming himself for this. You had this woman on to be part of the LA mayor, and you spend all this time talking about Palestine. What the fuck does she have to do with Palestine? The fuck does the LA mayor have to do with Palestine or Israel? Who cares what the fuck?
One of the things that's really funny about him is he changed his shirt. Congratulations, buddy. You took a shower or you changed your shirt. You're not wearing the same shirt. Oh, oops. Hey, motherfucker. Why don't you wait for the votes to get counted, dumbass? Oh, he's wearing rainbow colors for Pride Month? I mean, he did say that men are more attractive than women. So I'm glad to see that he's finally started to come out and show some pride. What was I going to say? The votes weren't counted, dumbass. The votes weren't counted yet, dumbass. Left-wing voters tend to vote on election day. They tend to vote later. Whereas old curmudgeony retirees show up and vote 50 days early because they have no reason to live except hate. Sort of like you. So regular people that, you know, fuck, they show up and vote for Nithya Rahman at the last minute because they're busy having social lives, you shut-in fucking loser.
What's going on over there? Fix the roads, fix the streets. So really, he should be blaming himself for poisoning the well with this woman by, you know, radicalizing his, you know, like terrorist supporter audience of people that she's not with the global jihad. That's what you get. It's his fault. He did this. That's why he's trying to stay off the screen, because he knows it. He doesn't want to take credit. He's embarrassed.
So if Hassan has no motion, oops, I guess because she won, it's all Hassan's doing. Another W. Hassan Piker's reaction when Nithya Rahman was projected to come in third. LMAO. She wasn't projected to come in third, you dumbass. Again, these are all Destiny perverts, Destiny orbiters. And like Destiny, they don't know anything about politics. They don't know it. Like, and by the way, this happens every fucking year, dude. Every fucking year. By this logic, Hassan is the reason. Yes. He probably was. The day before the election, he told his people to go out and vote for her. He said he liked Ray, but to go out and vote for Nithya because she actually has a chance to win and Ray doesn't. He literally instructed his audience, and I don't know if you notice, it's not a big gap. So he almost certainly swung thousands of votes toward Nithya. Okay, I've now said that I'm very happy Rahman has defeated Pratt. Hassan Piker is Nithya Rahman's adversary, and she should now realize that now going on his stream almost caused her to lose. Rahman was limited by low name ID. I don't think her going on Hassan's stream hurt her on that front. It's the same reason you have Democratic politicians routinely on Fox News and Republican ones on CNN. Her going on Hassan's stream made her win much harder to get. She would have been much easier race if she never went on his stream, which was meant to sabotage her. That's literally the dumbest shit I've ever seen in my entire life. In fact, can someone give me the clip of Hassan telling people to vote for Nithya the day before the election? Like literally, he told his audience to vote for her. And the late breaking votes were overwhelmingly pro Nithya. In fact, she was winning them outright, like by 10 points. Like the latest drops in the LA mayor's race, Nithya is winning outright. She's got like 40% of the vote. So she didn't just finish second, she's finishing in first with the late breaking votes, which were all lining up with Hasan. Actually, I think that would be a banger. I think I could make a banger tweet about that. More pro Hasan propaganda if I edited that out together. Hasan was hinting on how to answer. If Nithya's gonna win, she needs motion. She needs energy. And the way you get motion and energy in 2026 is by feeding your base red meat. Nithya is not going to be able to win by disempowering people. She's only going to win is if young people are super fired up for her, just like they were for Zoran. She has to come out and be anti-Israel. And by the way, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's the only way that it'll work, because she's not going to be able to out fundraise Karen Bass. The only way if she has some like other positions that she wants to triangulate on, being super pro Palestine is the only way to win. Did I say pro Israel? Like the only way to support, like the only way to get people fired up is to be like super pro Israel. It's a way of getting authenticity and getting youth support. It's really that simple. Freudian slip. Yeah, no. Steyer should throw another 50 million to help her win. No, Steyer should give me 50 million. Unironically, Steyer, give me 50 million to play with. Steyer, give me 50 million, and that 50 million will affect American politics for the rest of humanity's future. Give me the 50 million. And once I give myself a 10% management fee, 45 million will go. Lock in. Oh, this is really good. I wanted to show you this.
Jeff Bezos claimed with...
I said it again. No, she needs to be very anti-Israel and pro-Palestine. Nithya Rama needs to be very pro-Palestine and attack Israel. It is the way for her to like triangulate. She could like maybe even triangulate on other positions, but if she's so strongly anti-Israel, it'll give her authenticity as the left-wing candidate, and Karen Bass will be sitting up there blubbering. And the vast majority of Democrats support Palestine over Israel. So she'll be locked in. And it'll cause a bunch of controversy on her campaign, which will give her more name recognition and help offset the money disadvantage that she'll have. The only path forward for Nithya is to come in our direction. It's to go on my stream and be like, I hate Israel. That'll have some news reports on it. All right, maybe not my stream.
No vested interest in any of this, that taxing the rich isn't going to do anything, so you shouldn't even try. He claimed that his taxes could be doubled and that teachers in Queens wouldn't be impacted at all. That's what Jeff Bezos said. And so Zoran Mamdani was asked about this by Caitlin Collins on CNN, notably as the mayor of New York City. And this is what he had to say to Jeff Bezos, one of the wealthiest people on the planet.
Speaking of executives, Jeff Bezos told CNBC last week on taxes, and obviously, you know, what you've said about affordability is looming in the background of this. He said that you could double his taxes, and as he put it, quote, "It's not going to help that teacher in Queens, I promise you." What was your response to that comment from Jeff Bezos?
You know, I know a few teachers in Queens who would beg to differ. And I think that if I was worth as much money as he was, then I would probably say the same thing. The fact of the matter is that we are talking about a city where 1 in 4 New Yorkers are living in poverty. And we're hearing from one of the richest men that our world has ever seen about how he and others who make that kind of money shouldn't have to pay their fair share. And frankly, what New Yorkers want to see is a tax system that recognizes the scale of this affordability crisis and actually provides a way for city government to be able to invest in those same New Yorkers in the manner that we used to decades ago.
Speaking of it,
it's just incredible how Bezos offered that up really so casually, as if he thought it would work just by, and it's really how things work for billionaires. It's why it doesn't necessarily matter if they're sociopaths before they become billionaires or sociopaths after. It creates this sociopathy and a disconnection from regular human beings because everything is served to you. So he thought he could provide some sort of evidence-free claim about how if you raise my taxes, it's not going to help people. It's not going to help people who are in poverty right now. Okay, based on what? And you think that you can go out there and just by sheer force of will, I don't know if he was speaking to some financial press that would have taken that at face value, but billionaires like that, they have just a bunch of sycophants around them that are like, oh, so true, so wise. And I just want them to get in front of cameras more often and say what they think. Because frankly, it's not that difficult to make a case against somebody who says, don't raise my taxes, I don't want to help teachers. It's not going to do anything to help teachers. You know what everyone's thinking about when you mention the elephant in the room is, hey, maybe your taxes could really help teachers, and more taxes on you could really help teachers. So.
Of course. I mean, I do think some of that stuff has changed, though. I feel like if he had said that 10 years ago, we would be subject to some sort of PolitiFact style for Pinocchio's argument where it's like, yeah, Mom Donnie says that taxing Jeff Bezos another 5% would help teachers, but there is no way to prove that that money would go specifically towards education. It might go towards helping garbage men or some other public sector that we need to fund. So, 8 banana peels. They would give them some sort of like fake rating that sort of delegitimize the point the same way they would do to any kind of point about medical bankruptcies that Bernie would make, or any point about the unfairness in the way in which we like redistribute money from, the bottom to the top. It's always like job creators and trickle down economics. And, it's only been recently that people have just like pushed back against that to the point where it's like, it's not even getting out the gate.
Yeah, I mean, I think even the response to the one big ugly ass bill, this tax bill, is evidence of that. Like, we have cut taxes to the bone, specifically for the wealthy, but, and disproportionately so. But the cost of living part is not solved right now by people getting a few hundred or maybe a few thousand extra in taxes in their tax return. It is unable to keep up with the pace of inflation and and inflation's really only a part of the story. It's a corporate consolidation, price fixing from whether it be algorithms for your rent or whether it be some of these grocers or food suppliers that chose to artificially keep their prices up after the supply chain bottlenecks from COVID subsided, and they took home record returns. And those are public with public companies. We can see what you're taking home, and yet they are still publicly calling it inflation and claiming that it's otherwise, this is just the market naturally responding to things. And so, a tax cut bill doesn't have the same political salience, to your point, Brandon, that it did 15, 20 years ago, because our economy is fundamentally at such a broken place due to the tax cuts being so disproportionately geared towards the wealthy, so that like even the economy as it's structured is unable to properly function for 99% of people, because the wealthy have consolidated so much power that they're making it work for them.
Absolutely.
I think I just want to point out too that I think traditionally people like Jeff Bezos would strictly make the argument that like, their money is better off with them because they're the job creators and they could help more by creating jobs, and that's why they shouldn't be taxed.
I love how Jeff offered, don't tax me more, reduce the taxes on the poor, as if that will help. Well, I mean, if you're paying $1,000 a year in taxes and it goes to zero, that will help you. Or we could tax Jeff Bezos billions of dollars and give you $8,000 more in government provided services and benefits. What will make you better off? $1,000 of less taxes, or $8,000 more of benefits, or $20,000 more in benefits, right? Jeff Bezos is trying to make you give up $20,000 a year in benefits and coverage and services for $1,000 of cash in your pocket. How dumb are you? That's really what we're talking about.
Be taxed less. And I know they still make that argument, and I believe Bezos even made that argument along with this other one he made where, well, my money's not going to go to help teachers in Queens. But like, I think it says a lot that they're adding this other part to it now, because I think they are starting to realize that that timeless argument that we need the money to create jobs isn't really hitting with everybody anymore, because all you have to do is sort of look around and see either A, the jobs aren't being created when we don't tax these guys, or B, whatever jobs they do create, they like pay subservient wages that require you to go on welfare programs anyway.
Well said. Exactly. If it's not on the job creation stuff, it allowed people to be subservient and not have like class consciousness and collectivist viewpoints where they understood who the real enemy was. But we're not at a place right now in the economy where that makes sense. And the oligarchs that we're talking about here that are so like the tech oligarchs in particular, the AI reaction that is happening across the country, the fact that people fundamentally understand that this is about taking my job away and not providing me with anything that I can look forward to or stability. Like, you know, my stepdad was at the same company since he was 22 until he retired and had a pension. And it's like, that doesn't exist anymore. You can't make the arguments about jobs and economic stability for like for people who are experiencing the most unstable economy of their lives.
And on top of that, like, I feel like, you know, obviously this is in the argument usually from these types, like the tech industry is like, oh, what about when, you know, they automated factory work and, you know, they automated this part of car making or whatever. And they bring up all these other past technological advances. But the issue here, I think, is like, usually there's someone who benefited from those, like maybe prices would drop, things would be a little bit more affordable in some way. There would be some group that benefited, some regular, ordinary group of people benefited in some way, consumers, you know, for example. But we're seeing now that AI is being rolled out in everything, and nothing is changing for the better. Nothing's getting cheaper. There's no savings being passed to the consumer from these companies that are saying, oh, we just got rid of all of our employees or this whole department and we replaced them with AI. There's nothing tangible that people are getting out of this other than the very rich who are being able to pay less wages until, of course, they realize that they're actually losing money off of AI because AI can't replace people and they got to hire back all their workers. But I think that's the difference here. AI has done nothing to make really any normal working class person's life better, easier, cheaper, more enjoyable. Nothing.
And that is important to point out because technology in theory, or like what is sold to people in terms of what technological advancement is supposed to engender, is an ease in your everyday life. Things that used to be more difficult are now more automated or more easily done with tasks. That's how previous advancements in technology worked. Trains getting faster, your car is able to go for...
You could just get fired for no reason at the point of it. Is there any state in the country that isn't at-will employment? Like a single one? Is there a single one that has banned at-will employment? I don't think so. Can you look into Julian? Yeah. South Dakota though, bro. South Dakota, come on.
Longer, for example. What is this technology doing except polluting your water, making your community more unsafe ecologically, and replacing your jobs? But according to Stephen Miller and the Trump administration, they're actually building an economic paradise. I'm not sure if you're aware of this, Matt Binder and Brandon.
A second point, Sean, is the American people understand the hell that we inherited and the extraordinary paradise that President Trump is building. From record inflation that we had under President Biden to the cost of living going down faster than it has ever gone down before. Unreal. From unaffordable energy to the great American energy boom. From violence, bloodshed, and chaos in our streets, as I mentioned, to record public safety. From a wide open southern border, the mass invasion of our country, to the most secure border in American history. From woke policies that push transgender insanity and critical race theory and racism and prejudice in our schools to a world of sanity, a world of stability, and a world
Does the world look stable to you guys right now? Does the country look stable? Does everything look stable to you? I'm serious.
Autocracy. On every issue, President Trump has pushed policies that are the heart and soul of the American belief system, the mainstream center of what Americans believed, and he's led with competence, with courage, and with clarity. And the American people will reward that come November. I am sure of it.
All right, Stephen. Take that to the bank, buddy. I mean, anybody normal
All right, everybody. I'm going to call that the end of the stream. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. Tomorrow is, I believe, the Maine primary, right? I think it's tomorrow. Yeah, tomorrow is Maine's primary. So we'll see just how much, what states have a primary tomorrow. Here we go. Oh my God, why is it not sorted by day? South Carolina, North Dakota, Maine are all primary dates tomorrow. So make sure you show up. If you're in Maine, you know who you have to vote for. Graham Plattner, who does not have a Nazi tattoo. Why you guys why does the fact that he not have a Nazi tattoo making you ask more questions? He doesn't have a Nazi tattoo. Graham Plattner does not have a Nazi tattoo. I feel like all the questions you're asking can be answered by the fact that he doesn't have one. Okay, I shouldn't joke. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today, chat. Go do all the things. And remember, the Reaction Podcast, newest episode on Alex Jones. Go check it out. Make sure you hit notification bells on everything. I appreciate all of you. I'm sending you over to VO for some gaming and a discussion of Denham's tentative electoral, or legislative electoral? No, a judicial victory. Okay. My brain is rotten. End of stream energy depletion. All right, everybody. I'll see you all soon. Stay safe. Solidarity forever. Socialism will win. Peace out.